This video can help you crack data engineering interviews in 2025 in the Databricks domain. But how? Because Databricks has come up with so many upgrades in 2025 such as Lakeflow pipelines, Delta Live tables, Lakeflow jobs, Delta sharing, Lakehouse Federation, Lakeflow Connect, Lakebase, and much more. And trust me, this video is one-stop solution for you which will cover all the important areas of Databricks. Plus, we're gonna talk about the favorite topics of the Databricks interviewers. Do you know what? I am on a mission to help dedicated and passionate data enthusiasts land their dream job this year. And if you are one of those, just let me know in the comment section by saying I will land my dream role this year for sure. And after that, let's get started with this amazing masterpiece and let's master all the latest updates in Databricks. So what's up my data fam? First of all, happy Sunday. I know holiday season is on, but you need to make a promise to yourself that in this holiday season, you will upskill yourself. How and why? How? Obviously, this channel is for you. Why? Because this is the best time to just reach to that extra edge. I know you need to enjoy in your holiday season. Obviously, enjoy, but just spend some time, at least I would say 10 to 20% of your holiday time in learning something. I'm not saying, hey, do not just enjoy, just learn. No. But just try to learn that thing. Why? Because it will not break your flow if you are already learning and if you're already upgrading your skills. Plus, it will just make you consistent, right? Because flow is important. That's all. So what's the agenda of today's video? Before talking about agenda, let me just tell you, I know that whenever you are just trying to apply for a better job, or if you are trying to apply for your first job, if you are a fresher, I'm talking about data engineering domain, I would say 90% or I would say 80% of the time you will see this particular technology called Databricks. I do not need to tell you why, because obviously Databricks is in demand. Databricks is actually revolutionizing so many areas in the world of data engineering. You can just say whether it is about, you can say integrating data analysts, data engineers, data scientists, everyone on the single platform, plus taking care of all the big data frameworks, everything, right? So Databricks is in demand, that is for sure. But why it is so difficult to crack that interview despite knowing that there's a huge demand? See, I know the demand is high, but you need to fill that role with the expertise. Okay, what do I mean? So let me just tell you, Databricks is not a very new technology. Okay, it is there for I think so many years, but the interviews, or you can say the hiring managers or all those recruiters, are actually looking for the people who know the upgraded Databricks, and I would say upgraded or even more powerful Databricks that has just come up in 2025. You can just talk about so many Lakeflow pipelines and you would have just seen the introduction, right? So there are so many new additions that are actually added in Databricks that makes it more powerful. And obviously, if they just want to hire Databricks developers, they are looking for someone who know those things, but those things are really, really new. How you can just learn those things? This channel is for you, as you know. But in terms of interviews, they can trick you with some real-time scenarios. They will simply give you a scenario and you just need to obviously give an answer at the very, you can say, because this thing is, see, if you see the scenario and if you have ample amount of time, you can solve it. But if you are sitting in an interview, you are already in the panic situation, okay? You need to be prepared enough. The moment you will hear the question, your answer should be ready. And how you can just be this prepared? By just practicing the more number of questions. That's it. That's the, you can say, the entire formula of it. So in this particular video, we're going to talk about Databricks interview questions, and this video will be purely based on hands-on questions, hands-on scenarios, or you can say real-time scenarios, because that's what recruiters are looking for. They are not asking questions, hey, what is Databricks, hey, what is this, hey, what is that. No, all those what is questions are over. Now they are simply giving you the scenario. It can be related to design question, it can be related to your, you can say, architecture question, it can be related to your development question, it can be related to your new concepts. These are the questions that are revolving around the market right now. And just leave those questions, hey, what is a cluster, hey, what is this. No, just focus on the real-time scenarios that you can be asked in the interviews. Okay, makes sense. So let's get started with this amazing video, and trust me, this video gonna help you boost your skills, boost your confidence before sitting in the interviews. Even if you are a pro Databricks developer, this video is still for you, because this video will cover all the latest upgrades. Okay, so before starting the video, I would like to congratulate a few people. Really? Yes, because I was just reading some comments, and these are the latest, I would say, in the past week or in the past 2 weeks. I was seeing some comments. If I missed some messages, I am just highlighting some comments that I have right now. So these are the people who have just cracked the offers, and I'm so happy for them. So congratulations, like from the depth of my heart, and really good job. And I'm really happy for you, because see, I literally feel so happy whenever I just receive a comment, receive a message, hey, I just cracked this offer. I know there are so many comments that I have not covered, but this was just like, you can say, I immediately got like 8 to 10 comments, and I thought like, let's you can say, put this collage in my video, and let's actually highlight these. So I want you to all just do the same thing, crack the companies, crack the offers, and that's the confidence that you need. And just tell me in the comment section, in the messages, anywhere, and I will try my best to highlight your story as well. And I'm literally happy, and many congratulations, and well done. These people cracked the offers because these people literally followed the guidance, plus they were consistent, plus they were not being distracted by, you can say, so many people who are saying, hey, don't do this, hey, don't do this project, hey, don't do this Kaggle project, blah blah blah. They were focused with their goal, and that's it. And you know the results, and results, I would say, speak louder than those noise. Okay, so again, many congratulations, and I want you to just drop a comment, and I want to see you here next time. And if you want to do that, if you're dedicated enough, just drop a comment right now that I will crack my dream role this year, and I will be highlighting your stories, or whatever you want to say, just say it right now. Okay, because when you write it, only then you can write, rest of the things. Okay, so let's get started with our video. And one more thing, you would be very happy, we are not covering any kind of, you can say, questions which will require you to sign up for any cloud account. We will be simply using our Databricks free edition, which is an amazing platform, and you do not need any kind of subscription, you do not need any kind of, I would say, cloud account, nothing, just your Gmail account, and that's it. Okay, let's get started. So here we have our first question, and let me just tell you, this question will be there for sure, because let me just tell you, first of all, let's discuss the scenario. The scenario is your company is moving multiple data sets from Azure sources. It can be Azure SQL database, Azure blob storage, Azure data lake storage, anything, okay, into Databricks for obviously analytics and machine learning, because being a data engineer, you solve data analytics team or machine learning. Now the leadership team is concerned about the data security and lineage compliance. You should know about data security, lineage compliance. What are these terms? These are basically the backbone of data governance. Okay. And whenever you are just starting a project, this is the most talked topic. Okay. So now the question is, how would you design a data governance architecture to ensure that data ingestion from Azure to Databricks is secure, auditable, and compliant? First of all, just read the question carefully, because this shows your attention whenever you are just answering anything. Here, yes, this is an architecture question, but it is not your data architecture or your data engineering architecture. This question is asking about data governance architecture, and both are totally different areas. Okay, So how can you just answer this question? So basically, let me just tell you how you just need to approach to this question. So basically, this question is asking about the data governance capabilities that you can use within Databricks. So if you are familiar with Databricks modern architecture, you should know about this particular player. It's called Databricks Unity Catalog. Basically, Unity Catalog is now open source, so you can call it as Unity Catalog as a separate entity as well, because Unity Catalog is an independent entity now. Okay, so we use something called as Unity Catalog. Now you need to define the architecture. So what you will say, you will simply approach this question like this. Let's say you will say, okay, we have a source, and obviously just you can use some tools that they will provide to just explain the architecture. Obviously you cannot just draw it by your hand. Okay, or if it is like in-person interview, then obviously you have to just draw the architecture. So now, first of all, let's say this is your Azure source, and it can be, let's say, anything. Let's say SQL DB, it can be data lake, anything. Okay, so this is our source. Makes sense. Now we need to bring it to the Databricks. Okay, so let's say this is my destination, which is Databricks. Now obviously this is a different resource, a different kind of tool that we use, and Azure is totally different, right? Both are different entities. Makes sense. Our data is there. Makes sense. So if we want to ingest this data from Azure to Databricks, obviously we need to read this data. Okay, that's your first step. You need to just approach to this question step by step. You need to read this data, right? So in order to read this data, what you will do, and obviously we'll be using Unity Catalog because this is the most recommended approach within Databricks now to just access anything. So within this, you want to use this, basically read this data, right? So first of all, you will create something called as access connector. Okay, first of all, access connector. Okay, now access connector is available in Azure. Okay, and you can just create this resource, and once you create this access connector, this access connector will have the access, or basically you can say permissions, to this particular data. Okay, and what permissions? It should be read permissions. Okay, it can be write permissions as well. It depends like how you want to just contribute. Maybe you want to write it back as well to Azure. So it depends like what permission you want to provide. Let's say you want to provide the write permissions as well. Okay, so access connector will be having these permissions. Make sense? So now access connector is done. Very good. Now you will go to Databricks. Okay, and within Databricks, you will create something called as Metastore, or basically Unity Metastore. Unity Metastore. Now what is Unity Metastore? So basically Unity. So if this is a Databricks workspace, okay, obviously whenever we just create the managed tables within the Databricks, we store data directly to the default storage account. So earlier, before Unity Catalog, we were storing all the data in the default storage account, but now we do not do that. We create a Unity Metastore and we provide something called as default storage account to this particular Metastore. Okay, you will configure one storage account. You can say data lake. Okay, and this Unity Metastore will be having a data lake attached to it. Makes sense. Then within this Unity Metastore, you will create a Unity Catalog. Okay, Unity Catalog. Okay, this is also done. Okay, and what will be the default location for this Unity Catalog? Obviously you will have the opportunity to pass the URL here as well for storing the data, but usually we do not do that because we will still simply use this particular data lake which is assigned on the Metastore level. Make sense? Very good. Once this Unity Catalog is created, okay, then you will be creating something called as external location. Now what is external location? Let me just tell you. Let's say you want to pull data from the data lake, okay, and you have a container. So basically external location will be the URL pointing to that particular container. So let me just create a container here. Let's say this is the container. Okay, this is the container. So this external location will point to this particular container. This will be your one external location. And obviously you will be having multiple containers in your Azure. So you will be creating multiple external location. So now whenever you create external location, you need to create or basically pass the access connector, because see, this is the external location. That means Databricks will try to hit to this external location. And what is the external location? This URL, this container URL. But Databricks doesn't have any access because Databricks is completely a different entity. So that's where the role of this access connector comes into the picture. So now this will say, hey, you will leverage me. You will leverage me. So now this external location will be using this particular access connector. Make sense? That's how it reads the data from Azure and it brings the data to Databricks to just process the data and then just write it back to the Azure. Make sense? Make sense? This is your complete architecture for data governance. What is the benefit of it? With the help of Unity Catalog, you can actually perform all the lineage, like what's the source of your tables, where the data of that table is flowing to the destination, what's the upstream, what's the downstream. Then you can just perform, let's say, data audit as well. Then you can just perform data discoverability as well. So you just need to go to Catalog Explorer and you will see all the options. Don't worry, I will just show you right now and I will literally show you everything that we have. Okay. And then you can also perform some, you can say, row level security, column level security, all those things under Unity Catalog. So this is your kind of architecture that you need to define. Yes, in this detail. See, same question can be asked from one candidate, same question can be asked from you as well. I would say, level of detail will actually decide like who will be selected. Why? Because a person can say, hey, you can use this thing and blah, 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 and that's it. But if you are explaining all these things like this, person would feel like this person is actually knowledgeable enough to be selected. That's the difference that you need to create, right? So that is why I say, just go in depth, just gain the skills, because these things can only be explained by someone who knows these things in detail. Everyone would have used Unity Catalog, obviously, because Unity Catalog is the most used or widely used data governance catalog. That is fine. But these things can only be told by the person who is actually well versed with the knowledge and the, you can say, all the hands-on that the person would have performed with Unity Catalog. That is the difference. That is the difference between a candidate who is just scratching the surface and a candidate who is going in deep while just practicing and while just preparing for the interviews, or not just preparing for the interviews, while just preparing for the data engineering domain itself, right? Because once you are selected, you still need to learn new things. That's all about this question. Let's see what do we have in our next question. And yes, I just need to show you that Databricks you can say user interface for Unity Catalog. So let's create our first free Databricks account. If you do not have, don't worry, I'll just show you how you can just create one. It's very simple. Let me just show you. Your free Databricks account, you simply need to go on any browser and simply type Databricks free edition. Now I know that earlier we were using community edition, but free edition is much more better. And then just click on any link. Okay, let's say this one. Then click on try Databricks and then just scroll down and you will see looking for Databricks free edition. Click here. Perfect. So now you simply need to sign in with your Google account or Microsoft account. It's fine. Or you can even create a new email ID as well. So that is up to you how you want to just configure that. I would personally recommend, if you already have a community edition with, let's say, XYZ email account, I would say just pick a different email account. Sometimes it can mess up, or it will not mess up, but you will be confused because it can sometimes open the community edition because it is not completely degraded. So I would recommend to just go with your new email or a different email that is not registered with community edition. Make sense? So once you do that, let's say you have set up this thing. So then again, you need to go on the same page, this one, and this time, instead of clicking on click here, you simply need to click on login so that you can simply log in to that particular account. Okay. So I already have done that. So this is the screen that you will see once you click on login. And there are two options basically. You simply need to pick this one, the top one. Okay. So I will simply click on this and then it will simply ask me to just log in, and I can say, so this is the home page that you will see in Databricks free edition. And if you are already using community edition, you will find that there are like so many changes, and obviously so many things are added. So obviously we have a dedicated video for Databricks as well that you can just see, and currently we are focusing on interview preparation. Okay, so now first of all I will recommend you to just click on your icon, and here if you click here you should see something called as previews. For some reason if you are not seeing previews here, it's fine, but sometimes if you see, just make sure that you have turned on all the previews, because it's always better to have all the previews turned on. Okay, and then you can simply go to settings, and then you can simply go to developer settings. Okay, so these are basically all the developer settings. I am simply scrolling slowly, and you can simply copy my settings, so that if I am covering any question, you should have that particular setting configured already. For a quick example, if I'm using code editor, you can see, you can say Lakeflow code editor, you should have turned it on, otherwise you will see a different UI. Okay, so these are the things that you can turn on, and especially I would say experimental features. So in experimental features, you can turn on all these things, and especially these two things. These are very, very important, because these are a kind of new UI that we have. Okay, and that's it. That's it. So this is the first thing. And now let's talk about catalog. Okay, so if you go to catalog, this is your area of catalog, and here you create all the catalogs. So here I have some catalogs that I have created so far. I can click on plus, and I can create a new catalog. Okay, and I can simply say DB interview. Okay, DB interview. Okay, and then type standard, it's fine. Use default storage, which is in preview. Okay, and then click on create, and you can also read that catalogs that use default storage account are only accessible from this workspace by default. You can grant other workspaces access, but they must use serverless compute to access data and catalog. But obviously you would have just one instance of Databricks free edition, and you do not need like many instances. So you can either click on this or not, it's totally fine. Okay, then click on create, and catalog created. You can click on configure catalog, and I would say next, and then save. That's it. So this is your catalog that you have created. Okay, and if I just go to, let's say, details, I will find these details, when it was created, and blah blah blah, and permissions, policies, workspace, and all those things. Make sense? So basically this is the catalog explorer. You can even click on it just to see everything in detail. And I was talking about some external data, so this is the tab that you click on it, and then you create your external location. See, and when you need to create an external location, for now obviously this is the free edition, so we do not have that particular option to set up the external location with Azure, but with paid services you should see this. Make sense? Okay, then you can simply click on next and blah blah blah. So here you manage all the credentials. So this is the credential. Now what is a credential? Credential is nothing but your access connector. This is the name that we use in Databricks, and in Azure we call it as access connector. That's it. When you need to click create the access connector, or basically credential, click on this. And for now it is just picking all the things from AWS, because we have selected the AWS instance, but that is fine. Make sense? Okay. Now let's jump on to the second scenario, basically second question. It is saying your team stores daily transaction files in Databricks volume. So obviously to solve this question, you should know about volumes. Each file contains new and updated transactions. You have been asked to design a solution that incrementally reads only the new data without reprocessing historical data. That means every time in the volumes you have created, or basically there are already pipelines created, like which are just dumping the data in the volumes. Now it's your task to design a pipeline, or basically design a solution, and obviously develop the solution as well, to read only the new data. You do not want to process the historical data which is already processed. Now, how would you implement this using streaming tables in Databricks? This is really important keyword, streaming tables, because streaming tables are something new in Databricks. Okay, so we are not saying Spark streaming, like just Spark streaming, we are saying streaming tables. Streaming tables are built on top of Spark streaming, yes. but streaming tables are a little different. Okay, so now, not different, I would say the design is different, and obviously the core architecture is still the same, which is Spark structured streaming, but the implementation, the syntax, the code, the functionality, how to handle, you can say, all those watermarks, everything is different. Okay, so how you will just do this? Obviously, I will just show you in Databricks. Just a hint before that, you would need to just ask a counter question before approaching this. Yes, being a developer, you have to just counter the questions as well. So the counter question will be, you will say, hey, yes, I can do that. I have two options. I can either use my normal streaming tables, or basically you can say I can just set up incremental data load using normal tables, or I can also use delta live tables, or basically lake flow declarative pipelines to set up this. What approach I should follow? If the person says you need to develop it using normal tables, okay, then go for it. If the person says, hey, you want to just develop the DLT pipeline, or basically delta live table or declarative lake flow pipeline, then yes, you have to just do that. Don't worry, I will just show you both the ways. Both are very simple. Let me just show. So we are back on the Databricks portal. So first of all, the question is, where are the files? So files are stored in my GitHub repository. Just click on this button. I don't know why are you not clicking on this button. So just click on this button and increase this number, and let's go to the repository, and I will go to Anshlamba YouTube, and then you will see this folder called Databricks interview. Okay, so here I will be just adding more and more files as we just go along with this video. So these are two files basically. So obviously we're gonna start with the first file, because this is the data that we will be receiving on the first day. So I'll simply go here, and you will say, hey, we have the files, but where is the volume? You need to create that, right? So how we can just create the volume? It is very simple. Just simply go to catalog. Okay, so now here we'll be creating volume within this particular this particular catalog. So in Unity catalog, you should know the hierarchy. Number one is catalog, then you have schema, then you have volumes. Okay, so here I will click on this catalog, and I will click on create schema, and I can simply say source. My schema name is source, because in the source we'll be creating our, you can say, volumes, which is the source, right? Okay, so I'll click on this particular schema. I have nothing. Okay, then I will say create, and then create volume. So now I can just provide a volume name. Good volume name can be, let's say, order source, or basically source orders, anything that you want to pick. Okay, source orders, and then volume type, it can be managed or external. For external, you would need to just provide the external URL to Azure, and we are not linking any Azure account to this, so that you can just follow this video seamlessly. So I will simply say managed volume, then click on create. So your volume is created. Okay, now you'll say, hey, I know this is created, but where's the data? We will upload the data. See the button, upload to this volume. Simply click on this. And by the way, this is the URL that we'll be using to access the data. Okay, then click on upload to this volume, and then you can just simply browse the file that you would have downloaded using my GitHub repository. Okay, so I will simply click on add. So I have added this orders day one.csv, and then I will simply say upload. Okay, simple. So this is the file that is uploaded in the source, and we are good to go. So if I click on workspaces, I have these folders, and you can simply ignore, these are like my previous folders that I was just using, and actually I do not need these, so I will delete it later. Then I can simply create a new folder, and I will simply say folder. So basically folder is very handy when you just want to group your resources for a particular project. I will simply say Databricks interview. Okay, then click on create, and within this I will first show you the first approach. So let's create a notebook, and that's it. So basically, if you have turned on the notebook, like turned on that particular multi-tab, so you can even create multiple tabs for your notebook, which was not there before. Why? Because if you just want to open a new notebook, you have to just click on this particular new tab, then open the Databricks instance again, and blah blah blah. Okay, so by the way, you can turn it off as well if it's your choice. If I just click on this tabs, it will be turning it off. If I can just turn it on, obviously turning it on is a better choice. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so now what we need to do, first of all, I will click on this cluster and I will see my serverless compute. Okay, it is already up and running for me. I will simply turn it on and it's there. Now, first of all, I would like to switch the theme to dark. Okay, perfect. You can also pick dark theme if you want. Okay, yeah. Then if you want any other theme, like we have editor theme as well. So one is dark theme, and then within the dark theme, if you just want to use any specific theme, you can use. I personally use, I think, I don't know. I think it is Atom 1 Dark or maybe Dracula. I don't know. So now let's talk about, let me just first have some space. Perfect. And I can rename this notebook. I will simply say incremental. Perfect. So in order to load the data incrementally, okay, and obviously based on the Spark streaming, we have something called as Autoloader. So basically, in order to use Autoloader, you need to know some things. So first of all, in Autoloader, you will be having a data sitting in the source. Let's say this is the data. Let's say tup, tup, tup. Then you want to read this data, right? So this is the first way. Okay, I will just show you DLT way as well. Don't worry. DLT way is, you can say, more new and recommended approach. This is also recommended, don't worry, because DLT is more aligned with DLT, like declarative pipelines if you're building. This is like for normal pipelines as well. So this is the data that is sitting here. You will simply read this data, okay? And then you will simply create something called as schema location. Okay, what this location will be doing? This location will simply infer the schema and it will store the schema here. That's it. That's it. And this schema location will be having, let's say, one more thing, which is called checkpoint. Or basically the schema location will be in the checkpoint directory. And if you should know the fundamentals of Spark streaming, right? If you just want to just solve this question, this is like checkpoint location, where you are having all the other checkpoints such as watermarks, such as which file is processed and all those things, right? Then you can simply stream this data to any location. Okay, fine, let's do it. I know, because once I will just show you the code, only then you will understand everything. First of all, let's see the data, how our data looks like. So how you can just query the data, you can simply say select asterisk. Wow, I love this theme. So select asterisk from, now in order to read the data from volume, obviously you will simply say delta, because our data is in the delta format or is in the CSV format. I think it is in the CSV format. Okay, so you can either use select statement or you can create a data frame on top of it. It's your choice. Okay, so let's create a data frame. It will be better. I'll simply say spark dot read.csv. Why data frame? Because data frames are better whenever we want to work with CSV. Select statement will not infer the schema for us. Okay, then read.format, then CSV. Okay, then I can simply say dot option header. I have turned on the AI assistant, so it autofills the code, but obviously you need to just look at the code. Then I will simply pass the location. Now is the important thing, how you can just pass the location of, you can say, your volume. So one thing is, it is very simple. You can remember this code as well, but there's no need to remember this. By the way, I'm just showing you. It's like backslash, then volumes, then catalog name. Our catalog name, I think, is Databricks interview. Then we have schema called, I think, source. Then we have volume name, which is, I think, source orders. That's it. Okay, this is the location, not location. Basically, this is the name of it, right? So if you have more folders within it, you will just pass the folders, but we do not have any subfolders within it. Okay, let me just show you as well. If you click on catalog here, then you will see, let me add more space. In the latest, you can say UI, what they have done, they have fixed this pane. And earlier we had the button to just remove it. And I don't know why they have done that, but it's fine. Is there any way to remove it? Fix it? If you know, just let me know, because I didn't explore this particular pane much. Add split view. No. Oh, got it. Got it. It was here. It was hidden here. Okay. See, That's how you explore and learn. Where was it, by the way? Okay. So if you also see this, the top header is by default hidden. So you need to simply drag it. Then you will see the top bar. Then you can simply click on these 3 lines toggle, and then it will be hidden, and then you can again hide it. Wow. Wow. So this is our catalog, which is data DB interview. It's not Databricks interview, it is DB interview. Okay, perfect. So now if you click on this, within the source, you will see something called as source orders. So what you need to do, if you do not want to remember this, I will simply see remove this, and I will simply click on these 2 arrows. It will simply fill the same code as you can see, and it has filled it for me automatically by clicking on it. That's how you do it. Okay, then I can simply run it, and I can simply say display df, and then I will be able to see the data. Okay, so this is just for like exploration. Now if you want to just write the code, let me just write the code for you, and meanwhile it is running. It will take some time for the initial run, and I can simply say, first of all, what you will do, you want to read this data incrementally, right? So this is the batch load that you have done so far. This is the batch load, or you can say batch reading. You want to stream this data. How you can just do that? It's very, very simple. By the way, data looks good. Okay, now we have 10 rows, we know that. Okay, so what I will do, I will simply now perform the incremental loading. I can simply say df equals spark.read stream, because for streaming we use read stream. Then I will simply say dot format. Now the format is not CSV. Why? Because whenever we want to process files in the form of streaming, we cannot just pass the CSV files. We will simply say cloud files. Why? Because we are using Autoloader. Okay. Autoloader is a kind of managed Spark streaming service available in Databricks. Okay. This is cloud files. Then we need to pass something called as cloud files.format. Now we define it as CSV. Then we also provide something called as location for schema location. Location for schema location. Very good. So now within this DB interview, we do not have this schema. We have schema with source order. Oh, it is source. Yeah. Okay. And then within this, I will create something called as checkpoint. This will be my folder name. Perfect. Okay. So this is done. Now, what is the next thing that I will provide? It is called evolution mode. It is very, very important. By default, the evolution mode is add new columns, which is not a good practice to have, because let's say your CSV file is having some new columns next day. It will simply add those columns in your target directory, and it can break the obviously downstream. But rescue is a good practice, because all the new columns that your new CSV files will be having will be stored in this particular column called rescue. And those columns will be stored in the form of array, I think, or maybe JSON string, that you can, if you need those columns, you can just apply a PySpark transformation and you can fetch the columns. But if you do not need it, it will be just staying there. That's it, without disturbing any kind of, you can say, schema of your downstream. That's the best practice. Do not put add new columns by default. No. Because you do not know like what schema you will be getting. Maybe person just uploaded a wrong file and it actually broke the whole thing. Always put rescue. Okay. Then maximum files, I'm fine with that. Because if you just want to say, hey, I want to process only one file per trigger, you can simply add this thing, which is cloud files.max files triggers. It's 1, but it's optional, and I would say it's up to you. You can even say 10, 100 and anything. Then finally, we need to give the location, and the location is this one. Perfect. So this is my code for Spark streaming for incremental data load. Perfect. Very good. So I will simply run this. Okay. Now, obviously, if we are streaming the data, we want to display the data, basically write the data as well. So where I will be writing my data, for now, I will create a folder here. What do you mean? Like here? Here means I will simply create a kind of, you can say, subdirectory, because the thing is, I do not want to create multiple volumes, or I can, let's say, create one more volume for sync. This is like source. So I will simply create one volume for sync as well. So let's create a volume. Let me just go here. By the way, you can even create volume by following the same steps that we performed earlier. You can also use your code. You can simply say create volume. Okay, then you will simply say db interview, which is the catalog name, db interview dot source dot and then volume name. Volume name can be, let's say, sync orders. Make sense? Okay, and I would say that's it. This will create the volume. And yes, syntax is exactly same as you create the table. And this is a managed volume, so we do not need to provide the URL. And if you want to create external volume, you have to put external. Okay. I hope that you are taking notes, because these are like real-time scenario based interview questions. These are not your like baby questions which have no value. Okay. So sync order is empty. Very good. So this is the location that I will be using. Perfect. And I can remove this code because I do not need this. So now what I will do, I will simply sync this data. So df.write stream again, because this is a streaming, then dot format. Let's say I want to store this data in the delta format. Okay. Perfect. Then I will simply provide dot option, something called as checkpoint location, and checkpoint location will be this one. What will be the checkpoint location? It will be in the source. Okay. Then it will be in the source orders. Okay. Source orders, because my volume name is source orders. Oh, sorry, sync orders. Sync orders. And within the sync orders, I will create a folder called checkpoint. Make sense? Okay. Then you can simply say dot trigger, and I will simply say dot trigger variable once equals true, because I do not want to keep on triggering my pipeline. By the way, it is not even possible with serverless compute, so always pick once equals true. That's it. What it will do, it will simply trigger only one time, then it will stop. Then for the next time, if we are triggering it again, it will simply read the new data only. So I think that is good. Let's say dot to table or dot save. I think there was a keyword, because obviously you can create a table as well, but I do not want to create a table. I just want to show you like how you can just create just the file as well. So I think it was something called as start maybe. Yeah, it is a keyword. Yeah, start. So now in the start, you will simply pass the location where you want to store your data. Okay. So I will simply say store it in the sync orders, and within that I will create a folder called data. Make sense? Okay. Let's run this. And now what it will do, it will simply run this. It is saying volume not found. db interview source dot checkpoint. Who created that checkpoint? It is not there. It is called sync orders and then checkpoint. Perfect. Just rerun it, just a typo. So now it will simply load the data incrementally, and you will see streaming initializing, and you will see the graph as well. So it will take, I think, just a few seconds. Perfect. So this is the graph, and obviously it is automatically stopped, as you can see, because we provided trigger once equals to true. Okay. If I refresh this, it will simply, oops, where is that? Here. If I show you source, and then yeah, perfect. In the sync orders, I can see the data. See, perfect. So this is the data in the delta format. If I now add more files here in the source, let's say order day 2, it will simply process only and only the new files, not like all the files. Okay, so that's how you can just set up this thing in your normal code. Now let's talk about how you can just store this data in the delta, basically DLT pipeline or all those things. So for that, what you need to do, you simply go to your workspace, or I will simply bring that boy back. Perfect. So in order to do that, you have to just go to jobs and pipelines, and I have already created one DLT for my previous video. And by the way, if you have not watched this video, I don't know what you are doing, because that is a masterpiece video for declarative pipelines full course in Databricks, which is the hottest topic right now. Just go on YouTube, just search Databricks declarative pipelines full course or delta live table full course Ansh Lamba. You will get that video. I can even search it for you. Let's say declarative, or basically Databricks pipelines. Just search Databricks pipelines. Databricks pipelines full course Ansh Lamba. I think it will come automatically. So this is the video. That is a masterpiece, I would say, and this is a full course and it is recently added. I just dropped it, I think, last week, and this is a full course of Databricks Pipelines, which is the hottest topic. It will just teach you everything in the world of DLT. Everything means everything, literally everything from scratch. It is, I think, 4 hours course, and you will become a pro Databricks Pipelines developer. Okay, so just watch this video. So let's talk about how you can just create this particular thing in your DLT. So I will quickly go on create and click on ETL pipeline. And this is the user interface that you should see if you have turned on all the settings that I talked about in the beginning of this video. Okay, so I'll simply say incremental DLT. Okay, incremental DLT. And now it is saying workspace. So I will simply say workspace name is DB interview. So this is the catalog name. Schema will be, I will create a new schema for DLT. I will simply say DLT schema. And all these things are covered in that video, so I do not need to repeat that because I know you have watched that video. I will simply click on select with an sample code. Perfect. Oops, sample code with SQL. Okay, I will remove it, don't worry. Okay, so this is our beautiful editor. And if you do not know how to just configure all these things, everything is in that video. Everything. Okay, so let me just show you. Move to trash. Perfect. So here, what we're gonna do right now, we will simply create a new file within this. Okay, and I can even first of all move this thing to move root folder to workspace to users. Okay, and then within Databricks interview. Perfect. Move it here. Perfect. So now I will simply create a new file which is called create file and incremental.py. Okay, perfect. So I'll simply say import DLT, and this is the thing that is the hottest topic right now in the Databricks data engineering interviews, DLT. I'll simply say DLT.table. And then I will simply say name equals, let's say, incremental table. Then I can simply say def and then incremental table. Def equals spark dot read stream. Yes, cloud file CSV, and then cloud files location, I think I do not need to mention it because we are using DLT. Then I will simply add dot I think it is fine because once it has read everything is fine. Yep. So I can simply say dot load. Perfect. And here's the location, which is volumes. Then DB interview. I can literally copy that particular thing. Catalog, DB interview, source orders. Perfect. Okay, so now this is the table, and I'll simply say return df. That's it. I'll simply say dry run. Let's see if it is working. So dry run is just like running it but not executing it. Running it just to see the syntax, just to see the output, and that's it. Let's see the graph. It is preparing this graph. So this is the code that we write if we want to use delta live tables, and that is why delta live tables are so revolutionary. See the amount of code that we need to write in DLT and the amount of code we need to write in notebooks. So that is the difference. You do not need to manage any schema location. You do not need to manage any checkpoint location, nothing. Just read your data and everything is good. That's it. So let's see how it is behaving. It will simply prepare a graph for us, and we should see that object in this graph, and that's it. Perfect. We are seeing this particular streaming table. That means it is good. If I click on run pipeline, it will create the table for me, but I do not want to run that. I just wanted to show you. That's how you can just handle incremental data with streaming tables in Databricks. Let's see what do we have next in our interview question. So we have another question, and this question is a kind of, you can say, second part of that question that can be asked once you perform that question, or you can say once you answer the question. The question says, Scenario is same. Okay, you read the data incrementally in declarative pipelines. Okay, now the question is, how would you define this streaming table that you have created in declarative pipeline so that the constraints, now what are constraints? Constraints are basically the rules. Okay, quality checks are enforced at the time of table creation rather than handling them later in transformations. Because see, being a data engineer, obviously you need to make sure your pipelines are actually, you can say, strong enough to handle the force of schema changes, bad data. Basically, you want to apply quality checks on your data at the time of table creation. In DLT, how you can just do that? This is one of the most biggest powers that we get with DLT, but you need to know these things, right? Just a hint for those who are well versed with DLT, you need to use something called as expectations in DLT. Okay, expectations. So let me just show you how you can just do that. So basically, let's go to Databricks. So we are on our Databricks, you can say, workspace. So basically I want to apply the rules while creating this particular table. How we can just do that? First of all, what kind of rules I can apply? Basically, see, this is an orders table, right? So obviously we know that we have something called as order ID. I can just show you. So this is the data, okay, that we saw earlier. So this is the order ID. So now most probably this is the primary key of this table. So obviously this should not be null. So we can just add this rule. Second thing is quantity. Now quantity can be negative. Obviously no. So you can just add this rule. Now just tell me price can be negative. Sometimes it can be. If you are just running, let's say 100% off, it can be 0, but it cannot be like negative. So you can just add this rule. So these are basically the rules that you can add on top of your table while creating it. Let me just show you how you can just do that. As I just mentioned, it is called expectations. So I will simply say adding expectations. Okay. So now I will simply create a dictionary called rules. Okay. And in this dictionary, I will simply say rule 1, and rule 1 will be order ID is not null. Okay. Rule 2 will be, let's say, quantity is greater than 0. Okay. Then rule 3, price greater than 0. Wow. Greater than or equals to 0. It can be equals to 0 if 100% off is there. I don't know who is running 100% off. So now it's time to add these rules on top of our table. How we can just do that? We will be using a decorator called @DLT.expectAll. Okay. And then we can simply pass these rules. Okay. Which is the rules dictionary. Now a quick question the person can ask, hey, these are the rules. What will happen if these rules are violated? What will happen? By default, it will throw you a warning. You should know this answer, okay? This is very important. By default, it will throw you a warning. But let's say you have a critical data and you want to throw an error instead of warning. So you will simply use expect all or fail. Simple. So it will simply fail the, you can say, flow, and it will throw the error. That's it. Let's say you want to simply drop the records. You do not want to fail the entire flow, but you simply want to drop the records which are corrupted. You can simply say all or drop. That's it. These are basically 3 features of expectations. If I say dry run, it should just run fine if everything is fine. Let's see. Okay, everything is fine. If I see the pipeline graph, it is there. That means it is created successfully. So that's how you add constraints, basically the rules, the quality checks on top of your streaming tables. I know these things are really new. I know these things are like really new. That's why I say, bro, Databricks is totally changed. You need to master these things. You will say, hey, Databricks interviews are like very tough. It is not tough. It is just like you do not focusing on the right things. You are not focusing on the right things, right? So you just need to focus on the right things, the updated things. Okay, let's see what do we have in our next question. So now let's talk about this question, and let me just tell you, these are not the theoretical questions, these are the practical questions. And let me just tell you, these are the questions that would be expected from someone senior, because whenever let's say a junior resource is hired, that person will directly start developing the things without worrying about the underlying resources that he or she has. For example, compute. Databricks has recently introduced something called as serverless compute, and lots of questions are revolving around these areas. So let me just cover a few questions on serverless compute, or basically the compute, because earlier Databricks was like solely relying on the all-purpose compute. That's it. And obviously job compute, but solely on the all-purpose compute. But now the picture is changed. Okay, so let's cover this question. It says, how does Databricks serverless compute differ from traditional clusters? Okay, and what are its advantages? First of all, now we see serverless compute everywhere. If I talk about your all-purpose compute, it is replaced with serverless compute. If I talk about job compute, it is replaced with, I think, serverless compute. You can say that. If I talk about, let's say, SQL warehouse, okay, that is also replaced with serverless compute. Okay, so now what are the advantages? First of all, like, what is the difference? Basically, serverless compute, as the name suggests, you do not need to worry about the server. Okay, so obviously in order to process any data, you need a compute. Earlier, you was configuring the compute using Databricks UI by clicking on the compute, then create a new compute, and then just configuring it, right? And the same resource will be, or you can say would be, just being created in your resource group in your cloud account, right? In your cloud account. Because Databricks UI is just configuring the cluster. The actual VMs are being built on your Azure account. But serverless compute says, hey, you do not need to worry about anything. I will create all the VMs in my environment. So serverless compute means you do not need to manage the compute. You do not need to scale the compute. You do not need to decide any kind of size. I will do it on my own. And that is why you saw that when we just ran our notebook, we didn't create any compute. Why? Because serverless compute is there. We will just be paying for the processing that we are just performing with the help of Databricks. That's it. That is it. But earlier, we were responsible for scaling the machines. We were responsible for adding more machines, more nodes to our cluster, or basically upgrading the cluster or everything, right? But now you do not need to worry about anything. Nothing. So these are obviously, see, it's not like directly advantages, but when you are an administrator of Databricks, this is a big headache, especially when you do not even know about like what workloads you will be tackling with. For example, your organization see a sudden spike in data. So you do not need to just wait and configure a new compute and then just pushing that compute to prod, and during that downtime, no one can use the data. Serverless compute says, I will handle all the spikes. I will just do everything. You just need to sit back and relax and just write your code. That's it. So that is the power of serverless compute. Make sense? Now let's see what do we have next in Databricks questions. So now the next question says, how would you handle a scenario where multiple concurrent queries are overwhelming a Databricks SQL warehouse, leading to performance degradation, query, you can say, standing in the queue and all those things? First of all, you need a strong grasp over this concept, which is called Databricks SQL Warehouse. What is Databricks SQL Warehouse? Let me just take you to the Databricks portal. Okay, let me just show you, because this is one of the hottest topic right now, because Databricks SQL Warehouse is actually gaining popularity because of its amazing and cool features. Let me just show you. So I am on my Databricks portal. So basically, if you just want to see your SQL warehouse, you simply need to click on compute, and you will see this compute by default because all the other computes are not available for you. This is the only one. Okay, and you cannot even create a new one because obviously you are using a free service provided by Databricks, so obviously you cannot create much. Okay, so this is the compute which is currently turned off. That's not a big deal, and you can see the size as well. Let's talk about this because this particular question can actually be come up in any version. Okay, and I want you to be prepared for any version. Basically, first of all, let's talk about this particular compute. Basically, serverless starter warehouse is the name of the SQL, you can say, warehouse. And what is SQL warehouse? SQL warehouse is a special type of compute that we get within Databricks. Yes, this is a compute, and this compute is designed to perform your SQL workloads What kind of SQL workloads? Let's say you want to connect your Databricks Lakehouse to Power BI. Okay. Obviously, whatever KPIs you are building there behind the scenes, it is running your SQL commands, right? So you need special power to perform those queries in a better way, in a faster way, all those things. So this is a compute that is designed to run only SQL workloads. With this cluster, you cannot run PySpark code. With this cluster, you cannot do anything else. You can just run your SQL workloads. That's it. That's it. Make sense? Okay. So now if I click on it, for now it is stopped. Okay. I can even start it, but it's not required for now. First thing that you see is the size. Okay. This is a cluster size. What is cluster size? So basically first you need to understand the difference between a warehouse and a cluster. This is a warehouse. Okay. This is a warehouse. Warehouse means your compute. Okay. For compute, we will just use the word warehouse, SQL warehouse. This is your warehouse, and within that warehouse, you have something called as cluster. So this is the size of the cluster that we define. Okay. So why do we call it as 2 extra small warehouse and we do not call it as 2 extra small cluster size? Let me just tell you. So basically if I just click on connection details, or I think it should be in overview, I guess. Yeah, here it is, scaling. So basically the thing is, we have a special feature in serverless SQL warehouse, or not serverless, like any SQL warehouse. It is a second topic, which is serverless pro and classic. I will just talk about this as well. Basically SQL warehouse. So within that we get an amazing option called auto scaling. So basically for now we just set, not we, Databricks set it for you because you're using free version. But when we create our own compute, which is your SQL warehouse, we can just set it. We set, hey, you need to create a warehouse where you will be hosting multiple clusters. Okay, listen to me carefully. You will create a warehouse in which you will host multiple clusters, and the minimum number of clusters will be 1. Obviously you need at least 1 cluster. Then you can set max number as well. Here they have just told this warehouse, hey, just create this warehouse and just host only 1 cluster of 2 extra small, because this size cannot be changed. You cannot say, hey, just create a warehouse and just host 2 extra small and 1 small, 1 large. No, the size should be exactly the same. Okay, size should be exactly the same. So this will say, hey, just host the clusters, minimum number is 1, the maximum number is, let's say 10. Okay, it is not 10, but let's say it is 10. So if the maximum number is 10, so what will happen if this particular compute will be receiving, let's say, more load? What can be the load? Let's say more number of queries, more number of concurrent queries. So it will simply auto scale it based on this number. Make sense? And every new cluster will be of 2 extra small size. Make sense? That is the concept of auto scaling. That is why you are saying cluster size and cluster count, and all these things come under SQL warehouse. Make sense? Now there are basically 3 types of SQL warehouses. First is serverless, which is the best. Second is pro, which is the second best. Third is classic, which is the third best. And let me just take you to the documentation page that you can read. So basically it is written the same, it has written the same thing, like sizing, scaling, query behavior. So this is a quick overview of size. So in 2 extra small, you get 1 worker count of i3.2 into large, that is the node, you can say, configuration. Then in extra small you get 2 machines, then in small you get 4 machines, and so on. Make sense? Then it has also written that, and this can be a tricky question as well, how many queries are allowed? It's not like allowed, I would say recommended by Databricks. So basically Databricks says you should dedicatedly create 1 cluster for 10 concurrent queries. If you are just, let's say there are 30 data analysts trying to query the data lake house and all, so you should have at least 3 clusters ready, because 10 concurrent queries per, you can say, cluster is recommended. Make sense? Makes sense. Because the thing is, let's say, and this can be a tricky question as well. Let's say you are processing large amount of data. Okay. You are processing large amount of data. So in that particular case, you can simply increase the size of the warehouse, let's say from 2 extra small to small. That is fine. But you do not need to add add more number of clusters. Why? Because in that particular case, let's say you are processing large amount of data. What will happen? You just need one cluster which can just handle that particular load, and it can handle it very, very easily. Okay, with one cluster as well. If more number of concurrent queries are running, then what it will do, it will simply add more clusters of small size. That's it. That's it. That's how you configure your SQL warehouse. I hope it makes sense, and this was an important topic. That's why I just thought of adding this question. Okay, so let's see what do we have. So this question says, what strategies would you employ to optimize the performance of a Databricks SQL warehouse handling complex analytic queries? And obviously in Databricks, you do not know like what type of query you are actually receiving. It can be a very complex transformation query coming through a data analyst in the form of dashboard, or you can say it is a very, you can say, query which is just reading all the partitions, and that doesn't make any sense because it can actually perform that query much more faster. So you need to just mention those areas, or you can say you need to mention those keywords, those techniques that you can apply on your lakehouse or basically on top of your tables, which can enhance the performance. You should start like this. Okay, first of all, we need to just figure out what is the problem. Okay, that doesn't mean like it will be a problem, but we need to just first of all investigate. Okay, so in most of the scenarios, what will happen when we just store the data, we store it in the form of partitions. And being a data engineer, you should know about partitions, like how you just store the data in the form of partitions. That is a very common practice that we have been following since so many years. So now you as a data engineer need to know like how you can optimize those partitions. So there are some techniques such as optimize command, and you can also use z ordering. So what these two commands will do, these two commands will allow you to just, let's say, perform data skipping. Okay, how? Because in optimize command you can just get rid of small file problem. Then in z ordering you can actually sort the data, and then you can simply perform data skipping based on the you can say column statistics. So these are the two popular commands. Then you can also say, hey, if you want to get rid of partitions, that we are doing right now in the, you can say, 2025, because people are moving towards a new technique which is called liquid clustering. Now, what is liquid clustering? Liquid clustering is a very cool feature which says, hey, you do not need to worry about partitions. You do not need to create partitions while storing the data. So you will say, hey, how I will just perform skipping and all those things. It will be done automatically with the help of liquid clustering. It will basically create the clusters, and it will not be like normal clusters. It will be like logical clusters, and I would say ever evolving clusters, because these will be dynamically changing and adapting your query behavior. Let's say you are just querying few columns together, so it will just try to store that data together in a cluster. So it will be like evolving with your, you can say, behavior, with the query behavior and all those things. With this particular practice, there are so many reports, so many articles which says like this is at least I think 10 times better than z ordering and optimize command, and in some cases even like 30-40 times better. So it is a revolutionary thing, but yes, this is really new. So companies are just trying to add this liquid clustering method in their POC projects, or you can say in some of their projects which are really new. So this is a great practice. Plus it eliminates that boilerplate code as well, where you just create partitions while writing the code, and then you just apply partition pruning while reading the data and applying upsort. So it just eliminates all those things. Liquid clustering is the best for developers, plus from the query performance point of view as well. But you need to use these words in the interview because these are really new, plus these are in demand. Okay, perfect. So this question is really good. And I personally feel that this question should be there, because when you actually are hired in the organization, you will not be the only one working on any project, right? So you should have this knowledge. And let's talk about this question. You have just started a new data engineering project on Databricks, okay, that involves multiple team members, and that is the reality, obviously, because there'll be like so many team members collaborating on notebooks and code to ensure proper version control and seamless collaboration. Now you want to initialize the Databricks workspace as a Git repository. Oh, okay. How you can just set up that? How? Now you will say, obviously, CI/CD part, deployment part using Databricks asset bundles is a separate story. I know that. Maybe a senior data engineer with X number of years of experience will be doing that. Maybe there'll be a dedicated DevOps person performing those roles. I know that. I know that because you would need GitHub Actions, you would need Azure DevOps knowledge for creating those release pipelines. I know that. But being a data engineer, you should know about Git, because Git is not DevOps. Like, it is the part of DevOps, but Git goes hand in hand with development. Git goes hand in hand with continuous integration. And being a data engineer, being any developer, this is non-negotiable that you know the importance of CI, continuous integration. Make sense? So that you are just working with so many team members, you are just pushing your code to the dev, that's it. Now from dev to QA, from QA to prod, QA to prod is a separate story. Maybe a DevOps person will be doing that, maybe a senior data engineer will be doing that, or in startups, in small companies, maybe you will be doing that, but don't worry, that is a separate story. That is an optional thing. But for Git, it is not an optional thing. And you should know Git, all those popular, not popular, like you should know all the commands of Git, bro. All the commands. What is rebase? What is pull? What is fetch? What is cherry picking? You should know all these things. If you do not know, like, get that knowledge as well. And from where, obviously, I have dropped a lovely video on Git, complete course for data engineer, because I realized like there was no single video for data engineers for Git. All those videos, I know Git is Git in data engineering, software engineering, but you need those real examples of data engineering when you want to learn something, okay? Otherwise, anyone will be explaining Git with the with like from covering you can say Node.js by keeping that in mind. So obviously that will be a little bit confusing. So if you want to learn Git, you can just simply search Git, GitHub, Ansh Lamba. That's it. You will get the video. It is, I think, again 4 hours long video. Amazing GitHub course. You should know that. Okay, for now, let's say you know Git and now you are assigned a task to set up the Git integration. Let me just show you how you can just do that in Databricks. So we are back on Databricks portal. So first of all, I will just take you to workspace. So let me just show you. So this is the home tab, right? But this is actually nothing. This is, you can say, a quick link or basically quick button for this particular folder, which is under workspace and then under users, then under user ID, and then these are the same thing. See, that is why you see the same location here as well, under workspace and then under users. Make sense? So do not feel like this is separate, So I can say that everything is actually within this workspace parent folder. Okay, very good. Because this workspace is actually aligned with this particular workspace, Databricks workspace. Okay. So now if you want to create, let's say, a repository, a Git repository. Okay. So in Git repository, earlier, there was only one option to create repos and it was under repos folder. Okay. If I click on it, you will see this information here as well. It says now you can now create Git folders previously known as repos. That's why you are seeing repos here. Outside the repos folder as well for simplified UI and organization. Because obviously, let's say you have some folders in your users and you want to create a Git folder there. Why you will be creating a repo folder here, right? So obviously now you have that particular liberty to do that. And it is saying go to home folder, create Git folder. Alternatively, if you want to create a repo folder here, you can, because they have provided you the dedicated area for repos, which is a good thing. But if you want to create outside of it, you can do that. Okay. I want to do that. So what I will do, I will simply go to this home. Okay. And then here, let me click on home. So these are the folders. Let's create a Git folder here. So we know that this is the folder that we created for our use cases. And if I just click on this folder, we have some stuff, right? We have some stuff. Okay, makes sense. I will not touch this, by the way. Okay, I will not touch this. So what I will do, I will simply create a clone of this, which is Databricks interview. And I will simply say Databricks interview git. Okay, click on clone. So this is the cloned folder. Okay, now I will create a git folder. Okay, click on create and click on git folder. Even before that, you would need to set up some things. Let me show you. Just go to your icon, click on settings, and then simply go to linked accounts. And here you need to integrate your Git service provider. Now, what is a Git service provider? It can be GitHub, it can be Azure DevOps, it can be GitLab, it can be anything. Okay. Then I will simply say add Git credential. And now I can simply say who is the provider. I can say GitHub, I can say Azure DevOps, I can say GitHub. Like obviously GitHub is like open source, so you would have a GitHub account. So simply provide that particular thing. Then you can simply name this link service. Okay, you can simply say GitHub account. Simple. Then you have two options. You can either click on it, and if you click on link, what it will do, it will simply prompt you to provide your email ID and password, and you can simply log in, and that's it. Second option is personal access token. So this is a very popular way where you simply go to your GitHub profile, you create a token, a classic token, then you just download that token, copy, and then paste it here. That's it. Choice is yours. Once you do that, you should be able to see this particular connection. Okay, simple. Then you then go to workspace, then click on create and then git folder. So here it will say, hey, what is the repository URL? Obviously, you need a remote repo. I told you, you need to know some Git things, right? You are becoming a data engineer. How you can just skip Git concepts? I'm not saying like you skipped the concepts, but now is the right time to know that, right? Because obviously you cannot learn Git beforehand, learning all these things. I know that because you are not a software engineer, you are a data engineer, but now is the right time to learn Git. Okay. So just go and just watch the video of Git and GitHub full course that I have, and that's it. So here in your GitHub, first of all, you will create a repo, which is called as remote repo, okay, which will be used for the reference. You will go to GitHub, okay, create a repo, that's it. Do not do anything within that, just create a repo, that's it. Then just paste the URL here, and that's it. And this URL is smart enough, it will automatically pick GitHub, but if it does not, you can simply select GitHub and Git folder name that you want to create within this particular, you can say, repository. Again, if you create remote repo, it will by default get that particular folder if you have any. Okay, here. The moment you do that, what will happen? It will simply create that particular folder here with the same name. That is your Git folder. And if you want to just make any changes within that, just do it. Let me show you. So I think I recorded this video for Git tutorial. I can simply use this particular link to clone it. I'll simply go to code and then just simply grab this URL, and I think, yeah, here, simply go to Git folder and I will simply paste the URL and then GitHub, and this is the folder name. I will simply say create Git folder. This will take just a few seconds and this is done. As you can see within the users, I have this folder, which is called Ansh Git tutorial. Obviously I cannot do anything with this. Why? Because I have not configured this with my email and password, because I do not have anything in the linked accounts. Okay, so do not worry about that thing, but I'm just showing you what you can do. If you click on it, you can now see these are all the things which I have in the repository in the remote repo. So all are cloned. Okay, now if you, let's say, create anything, let's say you created a file, okay, any file, let's say you created this file, okay, this file is created. Maybe I didn't click on save, but it's fine. Let's see if it is created. Okay, this is created. See, so this file is created, right? So let's say you want to simply push this code back to GitHub. You can just do that. Okay, so this is a branch which is called main, and you can see that it is saying, hey, this file is appended. As you can see, a mark, this is the fundamental of Git that you should know, and this is the content of the file. Okay, and here I can just write the message, which is called commit message, and then I can simply say commit and push. What it will do, it will simply push my changes from here to the remote repo. Simple. Okay, then I can also create branches, which you will be doing and your teammates will be doing based on this main branch. You can simply say create branch, and then you will say feature, let's say Ansh, then simply say create. So this branch will be created based on the main branch. Okay, obviously I have not set it up, so that is why it is saying, hey, no get credential provided, but I'm just showing you. Okay, so you can simply say create. It will not let you do that, but I'm just showing you that this is the feature. So if you just want to make some changes in your feature branch, you can simply say pull request. As you can see, pull, and you can simply raise the pull request. And by the way, this pull is for remote pull, not like that pull, because usually when we just want to pull the code pull the code from feature branch to main branch, we use something called as merge. Okay, merge. There are two different types of merge: fast forward merge and non-fast forward merge, and all those things are covered in Git video. Just go and check out. Okay, so this is all about setting the Git folder, and obviously Git is a very detailed topic in itself, and I know we have a dedicated topic which is called Databricks asset bundles for Databricks deployment CI/CD, but these are the things that you should first cover and first learn these things, then you will be ready for dabs as well. Okay, sorted. So now this question will actually test your end-to-end data engineering skills. Not like completely end-to-end, but yeah, to some extent, yes. So the scenario is you are working with a data lake ingestion pipeline using Lakeflow jobs. Lakeflow jobs, okay, which is a new feature added in Databricks, and just a few days back, they have changed the user interface. So I will just show you the latest user interface, don't worry. So the requirement is to process multiple incoming files. Remember, this incoming file is not the same file with the same schema. So you cannot say, hey, we will be just simply using autoloader incremental loading. No, each file is having different schemas and different data formats. So basically each file is different. You need to treat it as a different file, not the same file. Okay, so these files need to be routed and written to different target locations in the data lake. So you need to manage each and every scenario on your own. That is why I told you, like, this is an end-to-end question. So in this question, how would you design and implement a Lakeflow job? First of all, you need to tell the design. Then you also need to develop it. Then you need to obviously dynamically read and sync the files which are coming to your way. So basically, how you will approach to this question, this is really, really important. Let me just show you first of all the blank screen. So what you actually need to do, let's say in this source, okay, you have two different files. One is this one. One is this one, and there can be like so many files. Okay, for just, you can say, quick review, we have just two files. Okay, you need to treat these two files as a separate files because these are separate files. Okay, so how you will just do that? You will design an architecture where you will create a Lakeflow job. Lakeflow job is just, you can say, ETL pipeline, not Delta Live Table pipeline. It is a separate thing. Yes, Lakeflow job to process these two files separately. Okay, so now architecture will look like this. What we will do, first of all, we will create something called as mapping table. Okay, this will be a SQL mapping table. Okay, in this SQL table, we will store all the information like the name of file. Okay, all the name of the files, and this will be a SQL table. So obviously we need to use a SQL file or SQL query. We can use anything. For, you can say, easygoing, we can simply create a SQL file, not a big deal. We can even create SQL query, that's fine. Okay, so now this SQL table will be having all the information. So we will first of all query this data. Okay, we will query this data. Okay, and obviously we'll be getting a response in the form of array. If you do not know about this, don't worry, I will just show you, because obviously you would need some experience working with Lakeflow jobs in order to understand this. Okay, so now this particular query will return an array. Array will be looking like this. Let's say this is an array, and each column will be having some key value pairs. Let's say name and then value, and then maybe name and then value, name and then value. It depends like how many columns do you have. Okay, simple. Then we will be using this array in our notebook. Okay. In our notebook. So this notebook will use this array, and in this notebook we will use something called as widgets to dynamically process the data. Okay, so this widget will be receiving the array and will use the logic to write the data to the different locations. Make sense? If not, it's fine, because obviously this is a practical question, so we have to just learn it by doing it. Okay, so let me just take you to Databricks workspace and let's actually do it. So we are here back on our Databricks portal. So what we need to do, first of all, I will go to my folder, which is Databricks interview get. Okay, not get, like normal one. And here I will create a new notebook, and let me just close the necessary tabs. So in this notebook, I will simply name it like, you can say array ingestion, or you can say dynamic ingestion. And this is a new approach. If you would have watched my previous videos, this is a new approach. We are not using a simple array. We are using a SQL query as the input of this particular array. So this is a completely new approach, and I would say this is the best approach. So connect this notebook to the cluster. Then I will simply say, I want to read this data. Let's say I have my data in this particular catalog in the source orders. I just have one file. So let me just quickly upload one more file, which is called products orders. And that file is also uploaded to my GitHub repository. Okay, so you can simply download it from there. I will simply say upload to volume. So this file is uploaded, product orders.csv. Perfect. So let's say if I want to read this data, which is here in source. Okay, source orders. Perfect. If I want to read this data, so first of all, I will create a utility which is called dbutils dot widgets dot text. Okay, and I will simply say file. Okay, and default value will be nothing. Let me just run this. dbutils dot widgets dot text. Perfect. As you can see, a mini box. So whatever value I will be providing to this box, this notebook will use that value. Simple. Very good. Then I will simply say df equals spark.read.format. Then format will be CSV, as we all know. Then, hey, yes, I was just about to call this, hey, my AI, just write the code, because we are in the AI world. See, if you know the concepts, AI is your friend. If you do not know the concepts, if you simply relying on the AI, it can just make your notebook like a disaster. Then I'll simply say dot load, and here I'll be using something called as fstring. Why? Because I'll be using variable within this. So I will simply put it here, and I will simply remove this name, or maybe let's say only this area. Okay, and here I will simply put, which is called, let's say file name. Okay, or just file. Okay, just file. So we need to create this variable, obviously. So how we can just create that? I will simply say file equals dbutils dot widgets dot get, and get is file. So whatever value I'll provide here, it will simply fetch this value. Let's say I provide products orders, let's say. Okay, so I can even see this value. It will simply return product orders, and this will work. Very good. Then obviously we need to write this data. I'll simply say df.write dot format. Let's say I want to write it in the delta format. Okay, and mode is overwrite. It's fine. And then I want to save this in bronze. We do not have bronze schema, bro. I want to save it in the source, and I want to say dynamic. And within the dynamic, I want to create a folder, obviously, right? So I will simply create a folder called file with the same name. Make sense? Very good. Very, very, very good. do you know what? I have a crazy idea. Really? And I want to test it. What's that? But it will be like totally off for you, so I am just hesitating to do that. So, okay. We'll do it later. Like, it can be a big thing, but yeah. Maybe I will just cover that part in my project video. That's an amazing thing. So that's a suspense for you. Okay. Just enjoy the suspense. Meanwhile, I create that project. So basically, this is the code that we want to run, and this will run fine. I know that because we are simply reading the data and writing the data. Perfect. And we are simply writing the data in the dynamic folder. Perfect. So now this is the notebook that is fine. We can dynamically pass the value manually, but we do not want to do that, right? Because you are a data engineer, right? So I will simply go here in jobs and pipelines. Even before that, I will simply go to SQL editor. Okay, perfect. So this is my SQL editor, and this is the previous query that I opened it. So just ignore, bro. Okay. So now what I will do, I will simply create one query. You can even create a file. It's totally up to you, but it's my personal recommendation. You should always go with SQL file. It always work well with data flow jobs. What do I mean? We will be just talking about, I will cover one question for parameterized queries as well. So just before that, let me just give you a hint. Whenever we create the parameterized queries, okay, we can create parameterized query in the SQL file as well. The biggest advantage is you can pass that particular parameter value dynamically, like using the output of any other. I will just show you dynamic content, don't worry, but just grasp this information. So let's say you have a parameter in your SQL query. Simple. If you want to run that in a job, obviously you want to provide that parameter value. Very good. You can only provide the hard coded value. That's it. If you want to provide the dynamic content, you have to use SQL file. So that's why I do not like switch between query and file. I always go with SQL file. It is always the best option. So in order to do that, I will simply go to my folder and I will create one file, create SQL file, file. And this file will be called as, let's say, file lookup.sql. Okay, perfect. File lookup.sql. So what this will be doing, this particular file will query the table. Now you will say, Ansh, we do not even have a table. I know that. So for that, we will simply create another file and I will simply say create table, or you can say create file lookup, because we first need to create that, right? Rename .sql. Do not forget this .sql, otherwise it will not work. I will simply say create table. Okay. And then I want to say if not exists, and then table name. Wow. Table name will be file lookup. Okay. Very good. And you should always define that particular catalog and blah blah. DB interview dot source dot file lookup. So this is the table. Okay. Within this, I will simply create two columns, file, which is of string type. Okay. Then I would say type, data type. Okay. Just for the better, you can say, better handling of the files. Okay. Because it can be CSV, it can be Parquet. So we can create another parameter, but in my case, I just have CSV, but still for future proof parameters, I can simply say type. Type is, let's say, string, obviously. Okay, so this table I can create. Okay. So this is done. Meanwhile, I can insert some data. Insert into. Okay. Copy and paste. Values. So value will be, first file name is, I think, products orders. And second file name is, I think, orders day one. I'm not sure. What was the value? Let me just check. Volume, source orders day one. Okay. Let me just do this. Perfect. Orders day one. Make sense? So I can simply run only this particular thing. Not really. Not really. Yeah, perfect. Now we need to also say CSV, maybe .csv. We are not using this column. It is just for the future proof, making our pipelines future proof. Perfect. Let me just run these two values because so far we just have two files. If you have 100 files, just insert 100 rows. If you have 1000 files, just insert 1000 files, like 1000 rows, and that's it. You do not need to create 1000 notebooks. You do not need to just create 1000 code cells for your data ingestion. Just be smart. Just be a smart data engineer. So this is done. By the way, this is done. Very, very, very good. So now I will simply go to file lookup and I will simply say select asterisk from db interview dot source dot file lookup. Okay, so this is the query that I want to run. Okay, and it will simply return the table. Okay, very good. And we have the column called file, right? Very good. Nice. Makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense. And within each, you can say row, basically within that array, each item will be a dictionary. Okay, will be a key value pair. Okay. Quick. And this will be a good one because if you understood this thing, and I can guarantee these types of questions will be there in the interviews. Why? Because Databricks SQL warehouse is new, plus companies are using SQL warehouse more and more, and obviously if they are using SQL warehouses, they are building Databricks jobs as well. And in order to create data engineering level, like production level, like real-time level jobs, you need to configure these things. Just a quick tip, it is similar to script activity in your Azure, if you are familiar with Azure. Okay, perfect. So we have this thing and we are very, very happy. By the way, this information is wrong. It should not be .csv. It should be just orders. So we need to remove this. Perfect. Because we are already using that particular thing, right? So first of all, I would need to remove this, or I can also update it. Oh man, that boilerplate DDL code. Update set. What is this? Set not type, file equals orders day 1 where .csv. Let me run this. By the way, these things will be gone very soon. These boilerplate codes like DDL, DML. How? Just wait and watch. There are amazing frameworks in the market, such as just guess. Don't worry, I will cover all those things. Oh wow, what a DDL command, Ansh Lamba, you have run. What I did? What I did? Wait. Oh. Okay. This is just one. What I did? Why I am getting this record 2 times? Oh, maybe I just ran it 2 times. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I think I also ran this area as well. Okay, another boilerplate code. Let me just say delete from. Perfect. Let me just delete all the rows and then insert it. Last execution failed. Wow. What do you want, man? Delete from. Yeah, this is fine. Syntax error? What type of syntax error, bro? Do we need to add this? Oh, Okay, I think I know what exactly happened. I think, yes, I think it is not running only the selected area, it is running all the things. I think so, maybe. Okay, now I can return, just insert this value. Okay, okay. Perfect. Number of inserted rows. I think yes, I am right. It is running all the things. See, it should not, by the way, but I don't know if they have any update. Yeah. So what I will do, I will simply remove this code and I will simply run this. Oh, I know this thing because this is a SQL file and this feature is only available in SQL query. Yeah. Smart. Okay, now it should return only 2 records. So if you're just selecting the part and if you are running that only part, no, it will run the whole file because this is a SQL file. Those features are available in SQL query. That is why if you want to build the, you can say DDL commands and all those things, SQL query is a good thing. But if you just want to use those files in your pipelines, SQL file is a better option. Okay, makes sense. So now what I'm going to do, I will go to my jobs and I will create a new job. And before creating that job, let me just talk about a potential error that you can see. You are using a free resource, right? So sometimes if you are aggressively using Databricks compute, it can be exhausted. But the good thing is it will be automatically restored after 30 minutes, after 1 hour. So if you see any kind of error regarding compute, that maximum limit exceeded, or let's say compute resources is executed, both for serverless compute and serverless SQL warehouse, both, just shut down your Databricks services for some time, just close all the tabs for 30 minutes, then after 1 hour just reopen your Databricks workspace and it should be fine. Okay, and you should not create multiple resources because it will just block the compute. So I will simply delete my DLT because we do not want that DLT now. So I will simply delete it and then I will create a job. See, job is different and DLT is different. So Ansh Lamba, you were saying that you have a different UI. Yes. If you click on job, okay, if you click on job, by the way, you should have turned on this particular feature for job. So I will simply go to developer and you should see in the experimental features. Okay. I think it is by default turned on. So just make sure you have turned on that particular feature so that you can see that option for jobs in the new UI. So this is basically the older UI. If you want to switch to the newer UI, you can simply turn it on. I will simply say turn on. Oh, wow. I can simply collapse it. I can simply do this. That's really a cool UI. They have just added some new tiles for notebook, run query or add another type. Wow, this is really nice. Okay, so by the way, if you are not seeing this area, maybe you have not turned on all your previews or you would not have turned on the experimental features in your developer settings. So you need to explore this thing. Just make sure your settings are turned on, previews are turned on, and then only you will be seeing this particular button. Okay, so what I will do, I will simply click on add another task. By the way, nothing is changed like the core functionality for Databricks Lakeflow jobs, just the UI is changed. And this UI is, I think, launched in the month of July. So just few days back it is changed. But obviously Lakeflow job itself is a new thing. So new things are being updated. So you can imagine how rapidly things are being changed. See, so click. Oh wow, this UI is better than the previous one. Wow. So I will simply click on add another task and I will simply click on SQL file. Sometimes you will not see this option called SQL file. You can simply click on SQL query as well. And then later on you can configure it. Don't worry. See, type is SQL, which is important. You can then select query or file. You can simply say file. So don't panic. Okay. So this is the task name. I will simply say file lookup. So this is the task that I want to create. And it is saying, hey, pick your SQL file. I will simply say it is in this folder. And this is the file. Perfect. And SQL warehouse, obviously, this is the warehouse I want to pick. Do we have any parameters? No, we do not have any kind of parameters for this one. So it is fine. So this particular task is created. Click on create task. Perfect. So this task is created. Now what we need to do, we need to create a kind of for loop after this particular task. Why? Because we want to run our notebook for all the items which are stored in this particular lookup table, right? So I'll simply say add task and create a for loop. Just scroll down. By the way, this is, and then you can simply say for each. For each activity is exactly same as your for each activity in Azure Data Factory. Click here. So this is a loop, and this loop will require an array. Now where is the array is the trickiest part. Array is the output of this particular activity. So now in Databricks we call activity as tasks. Okay, I'll simply say file names array. Okay, and input will not be 1 2 3. I will add a dynamic content. I will click on this and I will simply say tasks dot file lookup dot output dot. I have two options. One is first row. No, I do not want just first row. I want all the rows. I will simply say dot row. Oh man, I want rows. Perfect. So I want all the rows. So what will happen now? All these rows will be converted in the form of array, and within that array, each column will be having a key value pair in the dictionary. So let's say we have two dictionaries because we have two files. So in this dictionary, they will be like having two keys. One is file, which value, whose value is you can say blah blah blah, and then type. Okay, then blah blah blah, and then in second dictionary same thing, right? Perfect. So concurrency optional. We do not need to set concurrency. Concurrency is a good option when you are just processing hundreds or thousands of files. It is fine and it's good. Okay, add a task to loop over. Now we want to just add a notebook within this loop. So this will be my ingestion. Okay, this will be my ingestion. Perfect. Path will be not this one. Is this this one, dynamic ingestion. Perfect. In this we have a parameter, as we all know, so we'll simply add a parameter. And what's the parameter name? It's called file. Now what will be the value? This is another trickiest thing. What will be the value of this particular parameter? It will be I dot file. What is I dot file? Whenever you create a loop, you write something like this for I in array, right? So if you want to just use any element of I, if I is a dictionary or if I is another data type, you will simply say I dot file, right? Let's say I dot file. So here I is being replaced with something called as input. That's it. That's it. So I'll simply say value, and value will be again dynamic, and here we use something called as input. So it will be input dot my value, which is called, let's say, input dot file. That's it. Perfect. Create task, and now everything is fine. We just need to run this job. That's it. So in order to run this, I will simply see my it looks good. By the way, simply bring the screen here, and you need to simply turn this on, performance optimized, because otherwise it will take a lot of time. So you should turn this on, otherwise it will take, I think, at least 10 to 15 minutes. So everything is good. We have compute here, which is looking good, and I don't think so we have anything else. Git, we have not configured any Git with this particular job, and everything is good. I can simply say run now, and we can click on view run, and this way you can design the pipeline, and what it will do, it will dynamically read the data, write the data. That's it, using a mapping table. I hope this makes sense, because this is the backbone of all the Databricks jobs that you will be creating. And I would say if they are hiring someone who will be building Databricks Lakeflow jobs, which is like, again, amazing feature available in Databricks. Okay, because you do not need to rely on Azure Data Factory or any other resource to, you can say, create the pipelines. I know that Azure Data Factory is well integrated with Databricks. I know that, but for these kinds of flows, you need to rely on Databricks Lakeflow jobs itself. Make sense? Good. So that is why it is important. Earlier, it was not very important because they were developing these things, but now these are live and companies are adapting these things. So you need to learn these things. And that is why it is high time to cover these areas. Just forget about writing PySpark code, and if you are thinking Databricks is just equivalent to PySpark. No, that time is gone. Databricks is not just writing PySpark code. It is about Delta Live tables. It is about Lakeflow pipelines. It is about Lakeflow jobs. It is about alerts that we'll be talking about. It is about SQL warehouse. It is about so many other things as well. That time is gone when you can compare Databricks is just PySpark code. That's it. Make sense? I hope it makes sense. Okay, so this is running. Duration. Why it is taking long? I think something is wrong. I don't know, maybe a kind of typo, but I hope you understood the concept. And let's wait for 1 more minute and then we can simply skip it, because my intention was just to provide you the knowledge. Maybe there'll be a typo or syntax issue, not a big deal, that you can just troubleshoot on your own, because now you have the code and everything. Okay. And sometimes it takes time because it is running for the first time. So it will be just warming up the cluster, because it will not use your this compute to run this part, because this is PySpark. This part was completed using your serverless starter warehouse. So both are different. So this will simply trigger your job cluster to run this, and sometime it takes time. Make sense? So as I just mentioned, there was a typo. That's why it failed. So what is that? It is saying volume is not found. Obviously, we do not have any volume called dynamic. We have volume called source and then dynamic. So in the save, we didn't mention that particular thing. Review interviews, then source orders. So we forgot to add this particular thing. Obviously, we cannot edit it here directly. So we need to go to workspace. Perfect. Now it is good. Now you can just run that. Sure. 100%. Now just click on this job and click on run now. By the way, another question that can be asked from you. Let's say a pipeline is failed. Let's say a pipeline job is failed, and you want to just run your pipeline or rerun your pipeline from the failed task. You can just do that. Okay. You can simply say, click on your tasks, basically this thing, and click on job runs and this one, and click on repair run, and then repair run 1, and that's it. So it is now rerunning that part just from the failed activity. It is not running or rerunning this thing. So you should know about this thing, how you can just rerun your job without running the whole job. Okay, makes sense. You can just rerun the whole job because this is just a small job. But if you have a big job, and if that job takes, let's say, 6 hours to complete, and it has already spent 3 hours to run half of the activities and then it failed, you would not want to just rerun those activities which took 3 hours, right? So in that particular case, you can just run the pipeline from the failed activities. Okay, makes sense. And this time it is, I think, running fine. Because 2 is scheduled, I can see that. Let's see. Oh, perfect. This ran fine. And let me quickly check my results, because I should see 2 sources. Okay. In the volumes, in the source orders. Perfect. Now I have 2 data in the dynamic. See, 1 and 2. We have 2 different folders based on the mapping file that we have. Perfect. It perfectly ran our code, and I'm really happy that it ran fine without any issues. Makes sense. So what it did, it took these 2 files and put it in this folder in the Delta format dynamically. Okay, very good. Let's see what do we have next. So let's talk about this question. This question says, and this is, you can say, one of the hottest topics right now, because in the industry, organizations are actually using so many new tools, and before just loading the data directly to their, you can say, linked storage account, they first need to perform some POC, which is proof of concept. So you are working on a POC, which is proof of concept project, to explore data stored in the lakehouse architecture. That is fine. The core data is managed in Databricks, so most of the data is in Databricks, so you are good with that. But For quick data exploration and analysis, your team wants to query some extra data directly from the external tools outside Databricks. Make sense? So basically, let's say you have your data, most of the data in your linked storage account. It can be Azure, AWS, GCP, or anything. And for quick data exploration, you want to map some more data and you want to query the data from the external tools. Basically, for quick example, I can say you are using Databricks. Perfect. You have your Azure storage account linked to it. Perfect. Now, in the requirements, your data architecture suggested 2 to 3, you can say, solutions. Okay. He said or she said, hey, we can use Azure SQL database here. Okay. Then someone, or let's say the same person said, hey, we can also use Redshift. The same person said, hey, we can also use maybe PostgreSQL database or something like that. Okay. Basically, you want to add some data, okay, before moving it. Or I can say you want to query the data, you want to use that data before moving that data to your native storage account. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. So the question is, explain the concept of lakehouse federation. That is a big hint for you. And this hint will not be in the interviews, okay? Why I provided it here? So that you can just understand the concept that we are going to explore lakehouse federation, okay? Explain the concept of lakehouse federation in this context and describe the benefits and the challenges you might face. Okay, so first of all, let me just take you to the Databricks workspace and let me just show you how lakehouse federation works and how you need to just configure lakehouse federation. Let me just show you. So I am here back on my Databricks workspace. Okay, so here, how you can just configure lakehouse federation and all those blah blah things. So basically, simply go to catalog, okay, and simply pick your catalog, which is DB interview, because first thing is catalog and then you just perform all those things. So now here you need to go to catalog explorer. So this is your catalog explorer. Okay. So if I click on external data, now within this external data, you will see external locations, you will see credentials, you will see one more tab, which is called connections. This is your lakehouse federation. Okay. This is your lakehouse federation. If I click on it, this means, by the way, I already have one connection, but don't worry, I will just create a new one. So basically, what does it mean? It means this is your Databricks workspace. Okay. And let's say this is your linked storage account with this particular workspace. Okay. So now this is a data. This can be, let's say, PostgreSQL, MySQL, any SQL data. Okay. Now you want to use this data just for the POC. So obviously you would not like to just move or migrate this data to this particular data lake. Obviously not. This is not a good practice. So here we have something called as lakehouse federation, which will say, hey, we want to query your data directly without moving it to my data lake directly from Databricks. Yes, it is possible. Yes. That's where the concept of connections come into the picture. So I can create a new connection. Okay. If I go to connection, I can simply say lakehouse federation connection. And then I can simply say connection type. I have so many options: Redshift, Synapse, Databricks, Google Analytics raw data, Google BigQuery, Hive, HTTP, SharePoint as well. That's a big thing. Oracle as well. That's a big thing. Postgre, as we all know, very popular one. Power BI, Salesforce, Snowflake, Teradata. There are like so many things, right? Let's say I want to pick anything. Let's say Postgre. Let's say. Then I will simply say next. Then I need to provide the host name. Then obviously I do not have that host right now. You will not say, hey, just put localhost. No, your server needs to be hosted somewhere, like on cloud, or so that you can just access it with the help of internet. So for that, obviously we do not have host, but in the real world, you will be having host provided by a database analyst, or not analyst, I would say database administrator. Yeah. So here is the port, here's the username and password that will be used. Okay. Very good. Then you can simply click on create connection and it will simply create a connection for you. I can even click here right now as well, just by passing any value, blah, 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 then create connection. It will simply create the connection because it will trust, okay, this is the server name. Okay. Then database name, blah, 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 and then create catalog. So I will just show you what will happen. Then say next, then save. Okay. So this catalog is created for us. Obviously it is empty because this is a pseudo catalog. So this catalog is also called as foreign catalog. Why? Because this is not your catalog. This catalog is just created for you using the outside data. Sorted? Simple, sorted? Very good. That's the concept of lakehouse federation. Now, a counter question can be, hey, what is the difference between lakehouse federation and lakehouse connect? This can trick you a lot. Okay, and just listen to me carefully. You know the concept of lakehouse federation. Okay, perfect. This is just for like querying the data, which is not actually migrated to your native cloud platform or basically linked storage account. It is sitting in its original place, but we have just established the connection so that we can simply query that data. Perfect. Now, what is this Lakehouse Connect? Basically, Lakehouse Connect is the recommended approach if you want to build the real projects. Real projects means, let's say you want to migrate the data, you want to build your physical lakehouse, you are not building any POC, you are building the real projects. Then you have to use something called as Lakehouse Connect. Okay. Now this Lakehouse Connect has like multiple features. First of all, it has something called, let me just take you to the documentation page so that you can just see all those important keywords, because keywords are really important. Okay. Let me just search Lakehouse Connect, Databricks, and then let's pick this documentation by Azure. So this is saying Lakeflow Connect. Basically Lakeflow Connect or Lakehouse Connect, it is same thing. So they can even use Lakehouse Connect or Lakeflow Connect. You can say Lakeflow Connect because they have just renamed this thing with the latest upgrade. Earlier it was called as Lakehouse Connect. So it is fine. Okay. But I would say just for the notes and for the better, you can say understanding, just use Lakeflow Connect word. Okay. So now within this Lakeflow Connect, we have three different types of areas. First of all, upload files. This is a kind of option that we have within Lakeflow Connect where we can upload our local files as we just did while creating the volumes. That is a part of Lakeflow Connect. Perfect. Then we have two important areas. One is managed connectors and second one is standard connectors. Let's talk about the standard connectors first of all. So if I click on standard connectors, you will see something called as cloud object storage, which is, you can say, the most used one. Because obviously if you have data sitting in the data lake, in any cloud storage, you can simply get that data. Make sense? So this is a kind of standard connector that you have. Within this, you have Autoloader. If I click on it, you will simply say Autoloader, which is just manage Spark streaming service. Or you can also say onboard data from ADLS. That means if you just want to get the data from ADLS, remember our first question where we just designed the architecture. This is that thing. Okay. Then obviously load data using Unity catalog with external location. This is that thing. Okay. So these two are same thing. Okay. So this is that thing. These are like standard connectors that we all know and that you should know if you do not know. Then we have something called as managed connectors, because standard connectors means you will write your own code and you will bring the data. You will set up your connections, everything. Now we have managed connectors as well. We have two different kinds of managed connectors. If I click on it, I will see these connectors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 connectors are managed by Databricks. Where are they? Let me just show you. If I click on marketplace, maybe marketplace, not marketplace. Let me click on jobs and pipelines and then ingest pipeline. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there should be one more if I click on it. So yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then file 6. So we have 6 Databricks managed connectors. Databricks managed connectors. That means you simply need to click on it, just configure it. That's it. What it will do, it will simply replicate that particular source in the form of Delta table automatically for you. So that is like they will create the whole notebook, whole pipeline for you behind the scenes. You do not need to do anything. That is just like bringing the source to your Databricks. Perfect. Now you will say, hey Ansh, these are just 6 connectors and we want to use something else maybe. That makes sense. That makes sense. You would want to use something else, right? That's true. So for that, Databricks has partnered with something called as Fivetran. So it is also a kind of managed connectors, but it comes under Fivetran. So in the Fivetran connectors, you will see a long list. Now you can pick anything, literally anything. literally anything. See, wow, this is amazing. So that is why in the Lakeflow Connect, we have managed connectors, but we have two different kind of managed connectors that you need to know. One is by Databricks and second one is by Fivetran. Fivetran is like third party tool, but it is like well integrated. So you can rely on Fivetran, and they have amazing connectors like Webhooks, GitHub, Jira, Google Drive, OneDrive, and I have already shown you the list, right? See, amazing, amazing, amazing thing. Okay. Makes sense. So that's the difference between your Lakehouse Federation and Lakeflow Connect. And you should always go with Lakeflow Connect for real projects. For POC, Lakehouse Federation is a good deal. Okay, perfect. You are working as a data engineer on a large scale data platform. Wow, using Delta Lake. Obviously, everyone is using Delta Lake. Your team needs to create multiple copies of large Delta table to run different data experiments and transformations in parallel. Okay. But you want to avoid duplicating the actual data files to save storage because you are smart. Because obviously, if they are just working on a very big table, on a, you can say very big data, and they are just running the transformations, obviously there are some different environments and so many things. I know that. And they would need to just create tables, views in an isolated environment as well. But you cannot afford to duplicate your data based on that, right? You do not want that. So how you can just avoid this particular problem, and I wouldn't say avoid, how you can just solve this problem, because every time you do not need to migrate the data. You do not need to just copy and just bring the data to the native location every time. You will say, Ansh, Lamba, can we use Lakehouse Federation? No, because this data is within the Databricks. You cannot use like within the Databricks. Like you can use, but it doesn't make any sense because you already have the data, right? So what is the best solution? And there's a hint. Because whenever someone asks you a question, there will be a hidden hint that you need to identify. What is the hint here? Because obviously, see, if you're sitting in the interviews, you just got this question in your mind, okay, you processed it. Maybe you thought, hey, we can use Lakehouse Federation. Why? Because you were in panic. You didn't actually think, hey, this data is already in Databricks. We use Lakehouse or Lakehouse Federation when data is not in Databricks. So just focus on the keywords. The keywords here is Delta Lake. If you know about Delta Lake, you can solve this problem easily. Okay. So this is saying, hey, if you already have the data, okay, in Databricks, or like let's say in your cloud location or anything, you can leverage Delta Lake to avoid this particular cause. How? So if you know Delta Lake, you should know that we have a feature called Delta cloning available in Delta Lake. Again, if you do not know about Delta Lake, bro, you should know, because Databricks is built on top of Delta Lake. All the default tables, all the managed tables, managed volume, everything. How you can just master Delta Lake? Go on YouTube, just search Delta Lake Ansh Lamba. That's it. You will get the video. Just master it. I have created, I think, 4 to 5 hours long full course available on Delta Lake, which will actually help you to learn and get everything out of Delta Lake. Because see, no one is actually focusing on Delta Lake and then they say, hey, interviews are so tough, so this, so that, because everyone is focusing on, hey, we want to just learn Spark, that's it. We want to learn just DSA, that's it. Bro, you are a data engineer. And if you're especially targeting Databricks roles, you cannot even afford to just not covering Delta Lake and it will be fine. No, Delta Lake is the backbone of Databricks. So you have to master, not just cover, you have to master it. And that video will make you a master of Delta Lake. Trust me, everything is covered. Each entity of Delta Lake is covered in that particular video from scratch. So even if you do not know what is Delta Lake, watch that video. You will become the master of Delta Lake after completing that video. Okay. And just drop a lovely comment on this video as well, bro. I'm just providing you resources as we are just going along this video with this video. Okay. So let me just take you to Databricks portal and let's actually perform this particular task. Okay. Let's see. What is in my eye, man? Okay. Let's go. So we are here in our Databricks workspace. So what we need to achieve. First of all, I will simply go to Databricks interview and let's create a new file, or basically notebook. I will simply say, okay, perfect. I will simply rename it. I will simply say cloning. Perfect. So now the requirement is, as you know that we have this catalog and we have this particular schema called source. Okay. And within this, we have this volume. Makes sense. And within this source orders, or basically let's say sync orders. Okay. Because this is in the Delta format. We have this data, right? This data, which is called data. Or we have data here as well in the source. Let's pick source. Let's not touch this streaming data. So let's say we want to just get this data. Basically, if I click on it, dynamic, I want to get this data, product orders. And you can imagine that this is a very big table. Okay. And you want to create, let's say, a table, basically table in your source schema. Okay. On top of this data sitting in a separate folder, basically in a separate volume, without migrating the data. So you can simply clone this data. How you can just create a clone? It's very simple. And first of all, let me just show you the documentation for cloning. Cloning Databricks. Okay. Cloning in a table on Azure Databricks. Perfect. Clone a table on Azure Databricks. Very good. Clone tables, clone types. And so basically there are two types of clones, deep clone and shallow clone. If we just want to clone the data, that means if you want to just clone the data as well, then we use something called as deep clone. But if you just want to clone the data without moving the data, then we use shallow clone. That means we will not move the data. Data will be residing there, but we will still be able to use the data, use a shallow clone. Make sense? And it's saying what are the semantics of delta clone operations. You can obviously read it. And I just want to show you this particular thing. See, so this is the syntax, which is saying create table, this table, clone source table, create a deep clone of source table as target table. That's it. So we would first need to create a table as well. And what I will do, I will first try with just delta object without even creating a table. But we have, I think we can create that. I think so, because in this particular table name, I can simply provide delta location and that should work fine. Let's try it, because I haven't tried that, because I always tried with the table name, but that should work fine. And this is just, you can say, normal clone that we use. If I just provide, if I just want to use, you can say deep clone, then you have to, I think, provide the keyword, or I think with the shallow clone as well. See, create or replace table, and then you provide shallow and then clone. If you just provide clone, it will perform the deep cloning, and that we do not want. We just want to provide the shallow clone. Let's actually try and let's see the errors if we see anything. Okay. So I'll simply go here and simply say create table. Table will be dbinterview.source.clone table. Okay. And I will simply say shallow clone. And here I will provide delta dot backticks, and this is the location volume, which is volume. Okay. Where's that? Data modeling. Now, DB interview. Source, volume, sync orders, source orders, then dynamic, then this one. Perfect, perfect, perfect. By the way, this is not the one. This is the one. Okay, perfect. Delta dot backticks. Let's see if it runs fine, because I have always tried running it with table. Why I'm just testing it? It's because I do not want to create a table now. If it works fine, it's fine. Otherwise, we have to create a table. Yes, it's only supported for the managed table. Type is not, clone table is not a managed table, and blah, blah, blah. So yes, we want to create a managed table. Okay. Basically, we can simply say, hey, create a table for us. And how we can just do that? We can just refer maybe Python code as well. See, there are some workarounds. That's not something like we cannot do it. I can even create delta object on top of this particular table, and then I can just do that, but I don't want to create a mess. So what I will do, I will create a table. How? I will simply say create table. I will simply say DB interview. Then I will simply say source. Then I will simply say clone source, because this will be my source table. Okay. Clone source as select asterisk from delta dot backticks, and then this is the one. So this is the command to create the table using a query. Okay, then I can use this table to clone it. Let's say I want to clone this table. Perfect. Shallow clone, and let's remove this one. Perfect. Let me just run this and it should work fine. Table or view clone source cannot be found. Okay, obviously, because we didn't define this thing. Obviously. Perfect. Let's run this. This should run fine. I think so. I think so. Yep. Worked. It worked. So now this table is a shallow clone. That means it doesn't have any data. This is just using data which is in this particular source. So now a counter question can be, let's say I change something in this source, will it impact this particular thing? Obviously the answer is yes, because this doesn't have any kind of data. This just has the delta log, that's it, and it is totally dependent on this particular source. So yes, this is one dependency. Obviously this is a shallow clone. So yeah, this can be the counter question and you should know about this. Very, very, very good. Let's see what do we have next. This question is very, very unique. Trust me. It says, imagine you are working as a data engineer. I believe that you will be working as a data engineer, okay, for a company, for a dream company that has multiple business units, each unit with its own Unity metastore in Databricks. Okay, these units need to securely and efficiently share subsets of their data with each other without duplicating the data. Oh, okay. This is interesting. Okay. Question is, how would you design a solution to enable seamless data sharing across these multiple Unity metastores? To understand this question, okay, this question can come up in any particular form. And let me just tell you what is the solution. Basically, like, because first we need to talk about the solution, then you will understand the question. Really, yeah. Like not the like exact solution, but you can say the concept of the solution. So let's discuss the concept first of all. Let's say you have this Unity metastore. Okay, let's say you have this Unity metastore. And I want one promise. If you understand this concept, you will drop a lovely comment, because this is a very, very, very rare topic that you will hardly find anywhere. Okay, promise. Okay, pinky promise. So let's say you have this Unity metastore, and as we just talked about that, within this Unity metastore we can attach multiple catalogs, and those catalogs are called Unity catalogs. Why? Because those are united and they can just share data across the catalogs easily. So let's say cata1, or let's say cata2, and then cata3. Okay, catalog 1, catalog 2, catalog 3. So everything is fine. They can just share the data. Let's say I am the developer. Let's say you are a developer. Okay, let's say you are the developer. Okay, there's another developer. Okay, or let me just draw it nicely. So let's say which color? Green, because I believe in equality. Okay, so let's say there's a boy developer and there's a girl developer. Okay, and perfect. So these two are just working in the same organization. Wow, luckily. Okay, and they are the best friends. Okay, perfect. Why heart, man? Okay, it's fine like this. Okay, they are best friends. Okay, so now they are just trying to read the data. Let's say this boy is just trying to read this catalog 1, because this boy works with this catalog frequently, and this girl is dealing with this particular catalog frequently. Okay, makes sense. It can be the scenario, right? Because this boy is working on this project and this girl is working on that project. And yes, they are best friends. So they know, like, they share everything. Hey, I just worked on this catalog. Hey, I just worked on this catalog. Okay, makes sense. Now they want to share the data as well, not in their lunch or what is that, recess or whatever. Recess, not in the office, I think. Yeah, lunch break. So now they not just want to share the information in the lunch break. Now they actually want to share the data between the catalogs. Let's say like this. So now this boy wants to read the data from this catalog, and this girl wants to read the data from this catalog. They can do that. Why? Because all these catalogs are attached to the same meta store, and this is the power of Unity catalog. But do you know what is the problem now in this question? The problem is they are saying, let me just say Unity meta store 1. Now let's say there is another meta store, Unity meta store 2. Okay. Now there is, let's say, another boy. Okay. Competition. So let's say this boy is working on this particular catalog, which is let's say catalog 1, let's say. Okay. Makes sense. And there's only one catalog attached to this particular meta store. Makes sense. And this boy works with this particular catalog frequently. Makes sense. Now, okay. Now, this girl wants to query this catalog. Okay. There's a project, right? There's a project. Now this is not possible. Why? Like by querying the catalog, I mean to say that they want to share the data from this catalog to with this one. Okay. They cannot do that, or this data cannot go to this catalog as well, vice versa. Okay. Why? Because this is attached to a different Unity metastore, right? This is the concept of Unity metastore. You cannot query directly the catalogs which are attached to the different catalogs. How we can just achieve this solution? Okay. So let me just remove this office politics. Just go away. So now the thing is, we have a concept called Unity metastore. Unity metastore. Not Unity metastore. Unity metastore we have already discussed. We have a concept called delta sharing. So delta sharing allows us to share the data between two different meta stores as well. Yes, we can do that. So delta sharing, first of all, there are two types of delta sharing. One is open source, which is like, let's say you can perform with any delta lake. Basically delta sharing means you can just share your data which is in a delta format. Okay. And you can just perform delta sharing using open source delta sharing. But we also have managed form of delta sharing, which is Databricks delta sharing. Okay. And obviously this is a prioritized one, Databricks one, because we are focusing on Databricks, and it is very, very simple. Let me just take you to the portal and let me just show you. That example was funny, right? So I can just show you how you can just do that. So I am here back in my Databricks portal. So basically you simply need to go to catalog. Okay. Let's say this is a catalog which is DB interview, and this is the catalog that we are using for now. But we also want to query some data which is in the different Unity metastore. Okay. Because this particular catalog is attached to this metastore. Let me click on settings. And you can see this is a metastore name. Okay. It is saying metastore AWS US East 2. Let's say another metastore called metastore AWS US East 2, whatever. Okay. So in order to do that, you will simply click on delta sharing here. Okay. And then what you need to do, it is saying missing organization name because you need to configure it. So obviously you cannot configure it because you would just have only one instance of Databricks, but obviously interviewer will be willing to know the architecture and will be willing to know that you know this concept, because in the real world you will not set up this delta sharing link. It will be done by you can say a kind of data architect or data designer or whoever is building your project POC project concept, but you need to know this thing. Okay, so this is not directly linked to data engineers, but it is indirectly linked. Okay, and obviously in order to just highlight in the interviews, you should just talk about this as well. And they can ask any question because competition is rising. So I thought of just adding this question. This information is rare. So what you need to do, first of all, you will say shared by me if you want to share your catalog. If they want to share this data, then you will just click on shared with me. Okay, let's suppose you want to share your catalog. You will simply click on share by me. Okay. And then you will simply click on new recipient. You simply create the recipient and then you will put the workspace configurations of the other Databricks workspace here in the new recipient. Once you do that, if the link is satisfied, and it is very easy, you need obviously at least 2 Databricks workspaces, but I'm just telling you that it is very, very easy. Simply click on new recipient and that's it. Then you will be able to query the data across your Databricks workspaces. Okay, even if they are in the different meta store. That will also be called as, I think, foreign catalog, because that is not your personal or native catalog. I can just share the link with you. Let me just go here and let me just search delta sharing. See, secure data sharing. So this is the open source delta sharing, this link. Here you can see data provider, delta lake table, delta sharing server, and delta sharing protocol, and these things. Okay. So they have the video as well that you can watch. And this is the open source one. And this is, I think, yeah. So they have like both the things. Databricks to Databricks sharing protocol, which is Databricks to Databricks. And then they have Databricks open sharing protocol, which is like, you can say open source, a kind of, you can like anyone can just share it. Then they have customer managed implementation for open source delta sharing server that we were just talking about. That this is basically, there are 3 ways, but I would just still count it as 2, because if you are managing with Databricks, it is Databricks. If you are just managing on your own, then it is open source. That's it. Okay. And here is the architecture. That's really good. You can set design. You can just look at it and you will understand it. Okay, that is good. And you can just go through the through this documentation, and let me just, yeah, this is the one. Databricks to Databricks sharing. So here you have all the steps, how you can just configure it. All these information is there, how you can just find the URL of the current meta store of the other Databricks workspace. And you can perform catalog explorer, which is the simplest way, just drag and drop. You can also use SQL, better, CLI. If you love CLI, then this is the best one. Okay. Then obviously, as a beginner, just go with Catalog Explorer and it is fine. And that's it. See how you can just create the recipient. All the informations are there. All the information there. And it is very simple. Everything is displayed step by step. And this is Databricks to Databricks. Okay. Then you have open sharing as well. Okay. If you just want to perform open sharing is a little bit complex that you can just perform. I also have not used open sharing. Let me be honest with you. I have just used Databricks to Databricks sharing, because that's the thing that you'll be using most of the time. If your organization is having own products just similar to Databricks, then obviously you will be using open source one. But in the organizations, companies are using Databricks. Okay. If they have their own applications, then obviously you will be using open source. If they are using Databricks, you will be using Databricks to Databricks. Simple, sorted. Okay. Very, very, very good. Let's see what do we have next. Was it helpful? I know that. I know it was, right? Just drop a lovely comment. Right? So bro, this is, I think you can say, one of my personal favorite questions, because this is related to data access control. See, imagine you are working for a financial services company. Wow. Any big company you can think and you can enjoy, that stores sensitive customer information. By the way, in every organization, there will be some data which will be very sensitive, because obviously every organization is a customer to something or someone. So obviously some information are sensitive that you cannot share with everyone. Everyone means all the developers. So basically, we have sensitive customer information, okay, including personal identifiable information, which is also called as PII, which is a very popular term. And I would say every organization wants to test your knowledge in this particular area. Let me just tell you, they will not even use the full words. They will simply say PII data. You cannot say, hey, what is the full form of PII data? Technically, you can say, because you are a developer, PII can have a lot of meanings, but they can feel offended. I know they are dumb, but yeah, it is what it is. They can feel offended. Hey, this guy doesn't even know PII. Just imagine the guy says, how you will handle PII data, and you cannot even ask the full form of PII. Just imagine you are just replying the answer and replying, you can say, in the form of short words like LMIJKT. Just fill the words. See, does that make any sense? I know they're dumb, but you have to deal with the dumb people, so it's fine. So you need to just take notes and just make sure like PII data means personal identifiable information. Okay, such as social security numbers, credit card details, addresses, and so on, phone number, and all, right? Now, your data engineering team needs to provide data access to the analytics team, obviously, because they want to just build reports, but they must ensure that sensitive PII data is protected and not exposed in the reports. Okay, so now obviously this is a concept of dynamic data masking. If you do not know, okay, if you know, love you, bro. So basically this is the concept of dynamic data masking. We can apply dynamic data masking on the report side as well. Let's say in Power BI, in Tableau, we can do that. But being a data engineer, they are asking us to do that on the lakehouse level, or basically on the warehouse level. We have to do it. Okay, so question is, how would you design a solution to enable seamless data sharing across these multiple... Wow, this is not even a question. Let me just correct it. Correct question. How would you approach securing the PII data before sharing it with the analytics team? That's an amazing question, trust me. Okay, let me just tell you the story. Scenario is very simple. You have a data, okay? You have so many columns. And within this particular table, you have this particular column, which is having PII data, okay? So you need to hide this column from the data analyst or from all the developers, because this particular column should only be visible to the admins, because obviously at least admins can see the data. Only and only admins, but after that, no one can see this data, not even data analyst. No, bro, so sorry. You need to build your reports, just build your reports, but you are not allowed to see this data. So how we can just configure this thing? So basically, let me just share the architecture, because in the question it is said, share the design. See, nowadays, I know that why you are just demanding for system design video, because I know in the data engineering interviews, people are literally focusing a lot on system design. Do you know the reason? Because so many technologies are being upgraded, so many new tools are coming in the market. So now, being a data engineer, you are also expected to behave as a designer as well, so that you can just give some inputs. Hey, we can just approach this thing. Hey, we can just approach this thing. And for that, you need to be well versed with all those technologies. So it's not just about system design if you are mistaken. You need to learn those technologies as well. Only then you can propose a solution. Let's say you propose a solution and they liked it. They will say, hey, just develop it. So you need to know the technologies as well, plus design as well. Don't worry, I will try my best to bring the video on system design, because in data engineering, system design is totally different than software engineering. We do not have load balancers. We do not have those things. Okay, we have totally a different stuff for system design. But I promise I will just do that. Don't worry. But I just need your support. Okay, I need your support. And you can just show your support in the comment section. Okay, very good. So now let's talk about PII data, which should be seen by admins only. Let me just take you to the Databricks portal and let's see how we can just do that. We are here in our Databricks workspace. So by the way, how we can just design this? It is very simple. What we will do, we will pick any table, okay, just for the reference, and we will pick any column and we will just declare it as a PII data. Okay. Then we will create a function, unity catalog function, not just a normal function, unity catalog function. What this function will do? We will create some AD groups. Groups means Active Directory groups. So let's say there's a group for admins and there's a group for analysts and so many other groups as well, right? And we will say, if the person who is querying the data is the member of this group, then the person should see the original data. Otherwise, it should see data like this, star, 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 star. Simple, sorted. Obviously, Ansh Lamba is telling you the solution. It is simple, right? So now, how we can just do that, bro? So it is very simple. Let's first of all pick the table. Which table you want to pick? Let's say I want to apply data masking on... Do we have tables? Yes, we have table. Let's say we have tables, clone source. We have product ID, product name, stock, and all those things. Okay. So just for... So from where this table came? Oh, this table is, I think we created using, I don't know, like you can just create a table from scratch as well. Not a big deal. Let's create a table quickly. Okay. Because you will feel better. You will have that vibe. So let's enjoy the vibe and let's say new query and let's create the table quickly. And for that, see, this is a query. This is not a SQL file. And with the query, we get some amazing features. We can set the catalog here so that we do not need to type the catalog name and schema name again and again. Just type the source. For some reason, it is not coming. Refresh it. Sometimes it takes time. Okay, no worries. We can just simply type schema name. I will simply say create table. And this time I'll simply say source dot customers. Okay, and I will be having ID in integer form, then name string, then let's say address, and we want to hide that. Okay, and I can simply run it, start, attach, and run. And in this query, you do not need to run the whole file. Like, it will not run the whole file again and again. It will simply run only that part which you will select. Okay, that's the difference between SQL file and SQL query. Okay, makes sense. By the way, I want to cancel it. Why? Because I want to pick source. Okay, and let me remove source from here because it will automatically pick it. Okay, perfect. I can also say insert into customers values. Wow, international customers. Okay, insert more values, bro. Good. More. Very good. See, it listens to our system. It listens to our system. I'm so sure. I'm so sure. Because I have observed this thing so many times. But obviously they do not they do not accept it, but it listens to our system. You can just test it with your mobile phone as well. Okay. So do we need to add more value? I think this is good. Okay. Or should we add more? Let's add more values, right? Let's add one more. Lucy, where are you living? San Francisco. Nice, nice, bro. San Francisco is good. How many times you have visited Anshlamba? 0. But I know it is good. Okay, so let's run this query. What's wrong? Syntax error, Bob. Oh, AI missed the comma, and here as well. Okay, perfect. Let me just run this. What's wrong, bro? Okay, it missed the comma here as well. See, do not just rely on AI. You need to be smart and you need to be knowledgeable enough if you want to work with AI. AI wants smart companion, not like just dumb companion. Like. Okay, 4 values are inserted and I can even see the data. Select asterisk from customers. Perfect. Close the, see, I told you, bro. So this is the data and I want to hide this particular column. Perfect. So what I will do, I will simply go to settings. Okay, and I will create some groups. As you can see, we have some groups here, and let's click on identity and access, click on manage groups. So we have some groups: admins, developers, users, and this is created by system, so it is good. I think this was created by me, which is developers. And if I click on it, I think I am the only one added here. So what I will do, let's say I want to rename this group. I want to say developers. How we can just rename it? I haven't renamed a group. Wow. Let's create a new one, bro. Let's create a new one. And because we do not want to touch these groups, these are created by system. So I will simply create a new one. I will simply say dev admins. Okay. So in this group, we'll simply say just create a new one, add new. So this is the group that I have created. Okay. So far in this group, no one is there. As you can see, no one is there. Now we will apply the logic based on this particular group. Whoever is in this group can see the data, otherwise no. So I will simply go to workspace, Databricks interview, then notebook. Here, the steps are very simple. You first need to connect to the cluster. Very simple. Then we will be creating a function. Function means unity catalog function. Unity catalog function. Perfect. This is the function that we'll be creating, which will simply return a value based on the case when condition. It will simply say, hey, if this user is a part of that group, then return the value, otherwise not. Anshlamba, how will test the user is the part of that particular group? So for that, Databricks has made this work easy. We will be using some inbuilt functions provided by Databricks. For example, I think the function name is part of group, something like that. We can actually use that particular function to create that thing. Okay, let me just share the documentation. I think this is here. No, this is Delta sharing. I can simply say data masking. Wow. Databricks. Perfect. So I can simply click on manually applying, scroll. It should be somewhere here. Are you kidding me? I think it should be somewhere here. Yeah, perfect. I found it. So this is the function, very simple, very sweet, very short function. So this is a function that says, hey, this is your function name. Okay. And this is a parameter. Now what will be the value? It can be anything, bro. It is your parameter value, because first we create this function, then we fit, or basically we plug in this function to a column using alter command. Okay. How we can just do that? You can simply see alter command. I think it should be here. Alter table. This is set row filter, and this is create table. I'm just looking for, yeah, perfect. This is the keyword called, this is I think for disabling. This is for the enabling. Yes, documentations are confusing, but Ansh Lamba is here, will make everything easy to understand. So once our function is ready, we simply use the alter table command to set this mask, and this is a mask name, not mask name, function name, but we just recognize it as a mask name. Okay, so let me just copy this particular code. Okay, and then you can simply say create function. I want to create function, let's say PII masking. My choice, I will simply say input, or basically address, and I will simply add a P, that is my naming convention, P for parameter. Okay, then it is saying return, because obviously every function will return something. It will simply say return, but on the basis of case when statement. This is the function name that I was talking about, which is provided by the Databricks. Is account group member, then we need to simply type the group name, which is I think dev admins. Okay, so this is the group name. That means I am querying the data right now. Okay, so it will take my ID and it will check if I am the part of this group. If yes, then it will return this value, which is like any value, P address. Okay, P address, else we will simply see s6, that's it. Now you will say, hey Ansh Lamba, why did we use here P address? Like why these two things are same? See, this is a variable, basically parameter, right? Very good. Now when we will be applying this, or basically plug in this function to our column, so each value of that column will become this parameter one by one. And if not like one by one, the whole column basically, but it will go like behave like one by one, because this is a function, right? So what it will do, it will simply go here, and if this condition is true, then it will simply return that particular input variable or parameter, which is the column value. That is why we are simply writing this. Okay, perfect. Let me just run this. And once it is done, I would like to plug in into my alter table, and table name is I think customers on db interview dot source dot customers. Perfect. And then I can simply say set mask. I think set mask. I can simply check where is that alter command, set, oh, alter column as well, then set mask. Okay, makes sense, because we also need to alter the column, alter table, this alter column. Then what is the column name? Column name is address, and this is the real column name. Okay, and then we want to apply mask on top of this column. What is the mask name? It is PII masking. Okay, So what will happen? This value, this column value will go to this function one by one. Let's say Los Angeles has come here. Okay. Then it will simply check my email ID with that group. If it is there, it will return Los Angeles. Otherwise it will return asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Let me run this and let me just try to query this data. Select asterisk from. Perfect. And what I should see? What I should see? Just tell me in the comment section what I should see if everything is right. Obviously asterisk, asterisk, because I'm not the part of that group. But the moment I add myself in that group, let me duplicate this. If I make myself the part of that group, identity access, manage, dev admin, add member, add Mr. Ansh Lamba. Perfect. Add. Now if I try to query the table again, immediately I should see all the addresses, bro, because I'm a data engineer. So what? Yeah, you need to just refresh it. It takes some time, I think 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, so perfect. I think it is not refreshed, and let me just see if the name is correct. Dev admins. Where is that group? Dev admins. Yeah, the name is correct. Just for the safe side, I can simply copy and paste and see. Yeah, it is same. So it should work. Sometime it takes 1 to 2 minutes. Sometime you also need to restart your cluster. Maybe I will say reset. But it should work. Don't worry, it will work. It will work. Trust me, bro. Because you are the part of that group, and it should work. Dun, dun, dun. If everything is fine, let me just recheck for you, but I know everything is fine. That's why it is even returning asterisk, asterisk. Otherwise it would not have returned this one as well. So dev admins is fine. ADDRESS. Oh, what? Yeah, just try it after 10 minutes. It will work. Trust me, it will work. It should work because there's no meaning of it not working until and unless there's a small typo, small thing that would be there, but I don't think so. Let me just quickly check. Okay, this function is created. I was simply saying case when is account group member, that means me, is account, that means my account is the member of this group, which is dev admins, then return p address. Okay, else return this. That's it. And we have applied alter table. Yeah, that's why we are seeing asterisk. That is fine. I know it will work. Don't worry, because these are like very basic function, but dev admins. See, I know it should work, and for some reason if it is not working, let me just check, because sometimes it takes time to refresh it. Okay, so, and this is the only email ID that we have. Bro, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Okay, just try it after 10 minutes. I know this should work, and I have already created so many functions like this. It works. For some reason, if there's a typo that I cannot see, you can just tell me in the comment section, but I know it will work. And let me just do one thing. Let me just use SQL editor just for fun, because maybe that particular thing is not working or not refreshed. Let me just run the query from here. Let's see. Let's see. See performance. Okay. Because the thing is, bro, what's wrong with you, man? Boom! Finally, I told you, it is just a refresh issue. See, now I can see this. You should also try. I think it took 5 to 6 minutes. Yeah, So you should also just wait for 5 to 6 minutes and you should be relaxed. This will work. This should work. There's no like reason of not working, right? Boom. Very good. So you just applied dynamic data masking using functions, Unity catalog functions. Well done. Let's see what do we have in our next question. So this is the most favorite question for, you can say, team leads, or you can say, not like when you're applying for team leads, like these questions will be asked by the tech leads and team leads if they are taking your interview. Why? Because obviously senior folks are responsible for maintaining the pipelines. They are not responsible for maintaining the pipelines, but if something breaks and they are not being notified, then obviously that person will be the first person on which like any stakeholder will be shouting. Okay, obviously. So that is why in the interviews, if tech lead or team lead is taking your interview, this question will be there because it is related to monitoring and alerts. So the question is, or scenario is, you are working as a data engineer for an e-commerce company. Okay, your team wants to monitor key business metrics in near real time using Databricks SQL. Specifically, you need to send automated alerts when certain conditions are met based on SQL query results. These are special type of alerts, not just like pipeline failure alerts. We know that everything is there. You can easily go to the pipeline, configure the alert. If that pipeline fails, you will get the notification. That is like simple things. This is one step ahead. These type of alerts are business key metrics, or basically KPI metrics. Let's say you are working in any organization. You want to set some alerts. Hey, if this particular order or these number of orders are fulfilled, I want an alert. If these particular orders are failed or not fulfilled or cancelled, I want an alert. So your team lead will be under pressure because these are the key metrics and your business needs to be notified immediately if this number hits. So the question is, there is a table called daily sales, and this can be like obviously question in the interview, with column something as sale data, product ID, unit sold, and revenue. Now your manager wants to receive an alert if the total revenue for any product on a given day drops below $1,000. And obviously this type of question can take any form. Let's say this can be related to revenue, this can be related to a number of orders, this can be related to number of cancellations, maybe profit, anything. Wow. Yes, this is wow. These type of questions are very rare, and these can actually decide your, you can say, interview, because implementation is not very difficult. It's just about being aware of these things. These are not popular topics, but very important when you sit in the interviews. Okay, let me just take you to the Databricks portal and let me just show you how you can just create the alerts. It is very, so we are back on our Databricks portal. So first of all, let's go to the workspace and let's see what is the picture of our Databricks portal. So basically, before doing anything else, okay, you will simply go to your profile, click on settings, and then I think you need to click on something called as notifications, maybe, not sure, or I would say account level email communication, because you need to just set that particular, oh yeah, notification in the workspace admin portal. So notification destination, you need to simply set this up, click on manage. For now I have simply set this up, and I can even delete it. I can simply set another one. So you need to have a destination, basically a destination email. Okay, I'll simply say Ansh Lamba. Okay, Ansh Lamba, and this is a kind of webhook, but I will simply say email. And this can be your Slack email message as well. It can be anything, Microsoft Teams as well. Then email address, you can simply pass the email address. I will simply say anshlambaaz@gmail.com. This one, simply say create. So this is the destination that I have created. Perfect. Now how you can just create the alert? For alert, you need to first of all create the query. Yes, you first need to create the query. I will simply go to workspace. Okay, I will go inside my folder and I'll simply click on create and then query. Okay, and I will simply name it as alerts. Okay, alerts. Make sense? Make sense. So now in this particular query, I want to apply alerts on my orders table. Make sense? On my orders table. Let me just close the unnecessary tabs. And perfect. I think my screen is, yep, now it is back. So now what did I do? Did I simply close the tab? Okay. So let me quickly create a new query. Where is that query? So I'll simply go here and click on workspace, and then yeah, alerts. Let me just open this. Perfect. So I know that I have an orders table, basically not a table, I think just a view, but I can quickly create a table if I want. Okay, I think I have the table as well. Okay, perfect. This is source, and then we have orders table. Very good. I think this is not the right data or catalog. Okay, let me just open DB interview, and then we have source, and then we have tables. Let's pick I would say let's create the table quickly. Let's create the table. Let's say create table, and workspace will be dbt interview, and then it will be source. Perfect. Let's say I want to create orders table. Okay, then we have order id, basically id int, then we have name name string, then I can say PID, which is product ID. Okay, then you can say amount. Okay, and this will be, let's say, integer. Perfect. We just want to have these columns, and that's it. Okay, let me just say insert as well. Insert into, and then orders, and values will be here. Okay, perfect. Bro, just fill these values quickly. Yeah, perfect. Quick. Oops. Quick. Perfect. Fill at least 2 to 3, bro. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Let's insert these 5 values, and that's it. Okay, so we have simply created an orders table in which we have amount. So now the business problem is, if your amount, total amount, okay, total amount, if total amount exceeds the number is, let's say, 150. Do we have 150 in total? 50, yeah, we have. So if this number exceeds the amount 150, your manager needs to be alerted immediately. And this can be any logic. Okay, this can be any logic. Okay, perfect. So what we're gonna do, this table is created, and I will simply remove everything because this is the script for alerts that we use to create the table. What I will do, I will simply say select sum of amount as total sales. Okay, then from, and from will be your orders table. Makes sense? Perfect. I just want to run this. Okay, you can even perform some minor transformations, okay, using your alerts tab itself. But if you are just writing a complex logic, this is a very basic SQL statement that you can even perform directly in the alert section. But if you're just writing a very complex topic, joining and so many things, and then you can just simply use this query. Okay, so I want to use this query to be alerted. How I can just do that? I will simply first of all save it. So this is saved. Now I will go to alert section under SQL. So basically earlier we were using these legacy alerts. Okay, and this legacy alerts was a headache because you were required to configure so many things, and it was a pain. But now with the latest upgrade in alerts, it is seamless. So I will simply click on create alert. Let's create a new alert. I will simply say, it is saying start typing the query. So you can simply type the query that you have like typed there. Okay, so I can simply say select sum of amount, and then as total sales, and then you can say from dbt interview, dbt, it is I capital or small, dbt interview dot source dot orders. Okay, so you can even run it to see the results. So if you have a very complex logic, you will be DB interview, dinner view. So if you, oh, it's fine. If you have a very complex logic, then you should write, or basically you should prepare the alert file first of all, basically query. Then you can even copy and paste it. This was a very simple query, so I just rewritten it. Okay, so the thing is, you can even perform some minor transformations. So this is very basic. Even if I say select asterisk from table name, I can even put condition here, and I can even perform, let's say, min, max, average, count, these common transformations here as well. But if you have a very complex logic, you should always prepare the SQL query. Why I created the alerted file, or basically query, because you cannot actually indent this particular script area, and you cannot obviously write everything in one line or basically in the unindented form. So I prefer to first create the query in the separate query section, then copy and paste. That's it. So it is saying first row. I will simply say first row, or basically column, whatever I want to say. So I can simply say column is total sales, first row or sum or count or anything. I will simply say first row. If it is equals to, not equals to, greater than or equals to. If it is greater than and equals to 150, okay, 150, perfect. And this is a static value. You can even say anything, first row, sum, count, okay, and then you can even test the condition just to see like what will be the output. Obviously this condition is met, so it will be successful. So it is showing triggered. This way you can actually see, will our trigger work or not? Yes, it will work, so it is triggered. If I put a high value, let's say 160, then obviously it should not be triggered. So if I now, let's say, test condition, it will, I think, return okay something. Yeah, see, okay, alert will not be triggered based on current data, but it is working fine. Okay means trigger is fine, but it is not triggered now. I will simply say 150, that's it. Okay, makes sense. So test condition, it should be triggered. So now you can even schedule this thing like every hour, in every, you can say 1 day or whatever. Okay, I can simply say okay, this thing, and then notify. Here you will pick your destination that you have created just before writing your query. Simple. Then you can simply say create, and it is simply saying run every hour at 32 minutes past the hour. That means 5:32, 6:32, 7:32, like this. Okay, you can even set every 2 hour, you can even say every day. It's up to you, like how you want to configure. I can even say runs at 37, 38. Okay, then simply say create, and it is simply saying, hey, where I need to just create this, I can simply say just create here. So this is the alert. Okay, and I can even say run now. Okay, and because obviously I can pause it as well. Okay, and I can even click on run now, and I can pause it, or I can even run now. Like, that's up to you, because obviously it will just consume resources, and it can just exhaust your resources that are free resources that I do not want. So I will simply say pause. Simple. Alert pause successfully. And just to test it, I can simply say run now, and if I simply say run now, I should receive the email. In some cases it will land in your junk folder. So if you do not see that email, just try to fetch through junk folder. You will see that email, and sometime it can take 1 to 2 minutes, and it's up to you. Okay, like how you want to receive it. And that's all about triggers, I would say, like alerts, how you can just trigger them. And what I need to do, I will simply delete it because I don't want to keep it. Reason, it will just consume. I just received the email, new alert triggered, blah blah blah. Okay, one thing that I like, you can just obviously add cherry on the cake. If you do not define any message, you will simply get the default message or default email that is already designed for everyone. If you want to change the content of that email, let's say you want to use something else, you want to use some dynamic values, let's say a table name or anything, you have the option to add those things as well. Let me just show you alerts, Databricks, alerts, Databricks SQL alerts, and everything is written there. So this is the newer version, or you can say latest version of it. And I'm just looking for the advanced settings. Yeah. So here you can see alert status, alert condition, alert threshold. So you can use these, see, alert URL, query name, query URL. These are the variables that you can use in your custom template, and you can just refine your email with more information, because obviously with the alerts you would want to send more information. Okay, it's up to you how you want to set it up. You can also say, hey bro, just wake up, orders are fulfilled and blah blah blah. And you can even, let's say, use HTML. If you know HTML, to format your message, you can simply say h1 and then h2, then anchor tag, then br, just for like break line, break row, I guess. Yeah, br. So there are so many things. And hr for, I think, horizontal row, that is like line. Span is just for like classes, inline classes. And Anshlamba, are you teaching HTML? Like, what are you doing? I'm just passing on some extra knowledge that you can just use. Okay, so this way you can actually customize your email using HTML. Make sense? Make sense? Make sense? Let's see what do we have next in our Databricks interview questions. So this question can actually come into your interviews. By the way, all the questions are important, obviously, but I handpicked the questions based on the latest upgrade. But this is the question that has been asked since, I would say, 2024 a lot, because from 2024, like 2024 beginning, almost you can say 1 to 2 years back, I would say. Okay, so these particular questions were really asked a lot. Why? Because organizations were actually facing these problems, and it's very popular issue called small file problem. So basically it is saying you are working on a Databricks project where a delta table is used to store streaming ingestion data, and you already know how to do that. Okay, over time you notice that table has thousands of small files. If you are running your pipelines in every minute, in every 2 minutes, it is possible, right? Thousands of small files due to frequent micro batch writes. Okay, this has started slowing down queries and increasing job execution times, because you are not writing your data in the database. You are writing the data in the form of files, delta format, right? So with the course of time, the amount of files will be so much that it can just slow down the query, right? Okay, so now the question is, how would you identify the small file problem, and what steps would you take to optimize the table performance without interrupting the ongoing ingestion? You do not need to change anything. The pipeline which is flowing, all the streaming pipeline, streaming ingestion, everything, you do not need to touch it. How you can just do that? How? So the thing is, basically, let me first of all tell you some of the facts that you should know, and it is related to delta tables, basically delta lake. So let's say you have the source. Okay, not source, like you can say a kind of directory where you have files. So if you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, so many like small files. Okay, like this. If I will be just querying this data, okay, if I'll be just querying this data, the engine will not perform better, because it is a rule of thumb that it always behaves better. It gives you better performance when you are querying lesser files of bigger size than many files of smaller size. Okay, so this is poor performance. Okay, and on the other hand, if I have this particular same data, but if it is distributed in the form of, let's say, big files, let's say this ones, this will give me better performance. Make sense? This is the moral of this question. Okay, makes sense. And if it is a rule of thumb, that makes sense. But Ansh Lamba, we are writing our data frequently, and obviously whenever we write the data, it will create the file. How we can just improve the performance of query, because data is being written through the pipeline? Okay, so that's where the concept of called optimize and Z ordering come into the picture. So you need to use these concepts. Basically what it will do, optimize command will coalesce these small partitions into bigger partitions like this. And then Z ordering will basically apply a kind of ordering on top of those files, and it will sort the data within the partitions and on the overall partition level as well, so that it can perform data skipping using column statistics. Okay, we got the concept. How we can just actually apply this thing using Databricks? It is very simple. Implementation is the simplest thing, but the concept is something that you need to know. So let me just take you to the Databricks portal. So here we are, and let me just take you to the folder. So let's create a new notebook. Okay. And let me just call it as optimize. Perfect. Optimize. So let's say you have this table, which is called, let's say, orders. Okay. You have orders table. And if you just want to optimize the performance of it, okay, you can simply say optimize and then table name, which is DB interview. And first of all, pick SQL, DB interview dot, then source, then dot orders. And along with this, you can simply use z order by. Okay, z order by, and then you can simply pick any column on which you want to just sort the data. So I'll simply say maybe ID, and then I can simply run this command. So what this command will do, if we have like so many small files, it will simply coalesce those files, plus it will sort the data, basically perform the z ordering on top of it. Okay, makes sense. So it will simply run it, and let's say interviewer ask you another question. Okay, a counter question. Let's say interviewer is saying, hey, we are planning to create a new table. The table is not there. So what strategies we should follow, and what is that particular optimization technique that we should be applying on that particular new table? So if the table is not created, I would recommend go with liquid clustering instead of going with z ordering and optimize command. Basically, z ordering and optimize command is for the existing tables. Okay, existing data files. If the table is not there, then I will simply say go with liquid clustering. The best thing. Make sense? Liquid clustering is the best. And how you can just perform liquid clustering? So let's say you have a table like this. Create table, let's say products. Okay, DB interview dot source dot, let's say new table, let's say products, and I will simply say ID int, then name, then let's say these things. Okay, then you can simply say cluster by, and then you can just pass that particular column on like on which column you want to apply clustering. You can also use auto if you do not have any kind of preference on which column you should apply clustering. So it will simply adapt the query behavior, and it will simply try to add or more columns, or basically remove some columns to apply the clustering automatically. That's how you can optimize the performance of your tables, of your data, which is being used to display the data in the form of reports and so many other things. Make sense? So this was all about some latest questions based on latest upgrades, based on latest additions that have been made in Databricks in the past few, you can say, months. Okay. So if you like this particular video, if you like this particular, you can say, interview question series, just let me know. I will just create more and more videos on this as well, like covering so many technologies, Databricks, Data Factory, and so many other things as well. Okay. So just drop a lovely comment on this video and just click on this video that is coming on your screen right